Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about the Columbine Massacre 25 years later and exactly how the state of Colorado has changed in that time, as well as how America as a whole has changed since then. Obviously, for those who don't know, yesterday was the 25th anniversary of Columbine. You had a bunch of various articles posted about it here. We can all talk about gun control. Colorado right now is what it is, which is a bunch of BS anyway. And obviously, we're going to go over the whole thing. For those who don't know, never were alive during the actual massacre itself. We'll talk about that whole Wikipedia thing. There is what it is, etc., etc. But yeah, we got Denver Post yesterday. 25 years after Columbine, trauma shadows survivors of the school shooting. We got People yesterday, 25 years after Columbine, survivors still haunted by memories. Columbine Killers Fan Club, 2 days ago, that's the Atlantic. Local news affiliate there said Columbine 25 years later, remember the 13 lives lost. Guardian yesterday, it's 25 years since Columbine, this is why I can't leave the story behind, is what this person said there. You got Colorado Public Radio saying, quarter century after Columbine killings, survivors and community members. What's that one say? Survivors and community members. Gather to process their grief and never forget. And then we got Cult of Columbine, why young followers glorify the school shooters. That was 3 days ago. That's actually disgusting, by the way. And these are the people. These are the kind of kids that get their fucking asses beat in the streets. Honestly, on that one, dude, because you're trying to glorify these fucking psychos, is what it is. Which is just effed up in general, dude. Yeah, it says here, it said two Colorado students murdered 12 of their classmates and a teacher at Columbine High on April 20th, 1999. They committed to what that time in history would etch as the first school shooting in the internet era. So at the time, Google was still a startup, Facebook, the iPhone, YouTube were not yet invented, yet 25 years later, traces left online by those pieces of shit whose names we will not mention have not faded into obscurity of the early days of the web. Instead, their remnants took hold in each evolving online technology, chat room, social media, video, etc. Today spark obsessive online interest among a generation that wasn't even alive at the time of the attack. Which, by the way, the fucked up part about that is, though, and I do want to point something out on this whole thing, dude, is people always want to bitch about how, quote unquote, gun control is going to work here. No, it didn't, you fucking idiots. This was literally halfway in time and history to where the assault weapons ban was 5 years in of 10 years there at that point, between 94 and 2004. It did nothing to stop these psychos, dude. The only thing it did actually was fuck over the rest of us law-abiding citizens in this country for being able to get shotguns and stuff online to our houses again. Because that's what that actually did, dude. There was one thing back then, and it was these two assholes buying a gun. It was some kind of shotgun online is what it was there, and being able to have it shipped to one of the houses of the parents is what it is there. That's the only thing that's really changed. You can no longer do that stuff, obviously, which you should be able to do that, honestly. I'm not even going to lie. You should totally be able to have guns shipped to your house, is what it is there, dude. Shouldn't have to go to FFL background check bullshit. That's, by the way, has been flawed from the fucking get-go. And that's the thing, right? 25 years later, you've had so many of these killings go on and on and on, whether it be that supermarket shooting there that almost killed Gabby Giffords, and obviously eventually created the Giffords fucking anti-gun group, was what it is there. But it killed everybody else in that fucking parking lot there, dude. That fucking psychopath background check. You got the fucking dude who supposedly committed Columbine. He, obviously offed his mom to fucking take a bunch of her guns, is what it was there, and supposed to do that atrocity, which, again, I'm not going to get into that obviously today, but you guys know how my feelings are on that one. To me again, what I want to talk about honestly with this one actually real quick is, and I've said this before, I'll say it again right now, dude, with specifically Sandy Hook in 2012, if we actually had something where, I don't know, there is a still frame footage piece, like here with the Columbine page there, where it's the fucking library where these psychos are just walking around with guns in hand and stuff like that. Like, if there was something like that, of some dude stalking the fucking hallway with a Bushmaster AR-15 or something like that, maybe I'd fucking believe the goddamn story is what it is, dude. Maybe I believe the official narrative. But the fact that, for the hookers there, in fucking almost, 12 years now, we still have yet to get that fucking footage, it's like, I call bullshit on that one, dude. Especially when you had Columbine, that was like 25 years now, and we had that shit within like a year or two, is what it was, on the internet there, of these nut jobs walking through the fucking library, stalking their fellow students to off them and stuff like that. Which, there's been talk over the years. I know that Gus Van Sant guy did that stupid ass elephant movie, I think that's what it was called, where it basically depicted the two murderers there as gay lovers and stuff, which I don't know if that's the case or not, honestly, on that one. I mean, it might have been. For all the fuck we know. Like, we don't know what those nut jobs are doing in their fucking, on their own personal time, honestly, dude. Except obviously doing all kinds of crazy shit. Which, I'm not even gonna lie, dude. Like, if those dudes had been smarter and stuff like that, if they had been, like, more thorough and shit back in those days, if the things they wanted to do to that school were able to be pulled off, oh my god, bro, like, that body count would have been 100 plus people at that point, dude. Because they have, like, straight up pipe bombs and stuff like that failed miserably because they don't know how to fucking do them properly, is what it is there. So, yeah, you could have easily had, like, a whole mess more people dead in that school, dude, honestly. I also do want to point something out, too, for that matter. So, again, going back to the whole gun control stuff and stuff like that, who was the first person that was actually shot by those pieces of shit? Oh, shocker, it was a school resource officer. That's nobody ever talks about, dude, by the way. They want to talk about the 13 people killed in that situation, which was a teacher and 12 students. They never talk about the first guy that was basically neutralized was a school resource officer in Columbine High that night. Or that afternoon, I should say. So, but anyway. And then, of course, since then, you've had, on June 4th, 2004, which was a little over 5 years later, you had the Killdozer rampage by Marvin Heemeyer there in Colorado, which then governor at the time wanted to literally use fucking cruise missiles and shit basically to take out the Killdozer. And shows you what kind of nut that fucking guy was. Then you had Colorado basically give a shit after that is what it was, dude. You've had a bunch of other stuff happen then, obviously. You've had a bunch more massacres happen since then. And all in gun-free zones, by the way. I want to point something out on this whole thing, dude. Even Columbine itself, had the AWB 94 not existed, right, you would have still had the gun-free school zones act in 1990 that was created 9 years before Columbine happened that allowed for Columbine and every other school in this country to be gun-free zones. Again, this is what happens when you disarm people from being able to protect themselves. You allow fucking nut job psycho lunatics that, in that case, I know at least one of those guys was on SSRI antidepressants, just like most of these mass shooters are at this point in time in history, where he was on, I forget if it was like Xanax stuff or if it was like some other kind of like upper kind of thing like that or whatever the case be for various shit. But yeah, he was on some kind of fucking stuff like that, like Xanax, Zoloft, something like that is what it was at the time. And there's been talk of him basically doing it because of that reasoning, honestly, which makes sense because, again, when you have the side effects of these medications being homicidal and suicidal thoughts and actions, dude, it's not that hard to figure out. These people are fucking nuts, dude. So maybe don't put fucking kids on various big form of meds and it won't be a fucking issue. That's what it is, man. So, and then, of course, one of the ones that I was looking at here today for this whole thing, we're going to go over a few other stories, obviously. We'll go back to the actual breakdown of Columbine there from the Wikipedia page is what it is then. But I do want to mention some of these other things, like this particular one I want to pull up right now, which has to do with the Nashville shooting over a year later now, which is basically breaking massive cover-up of trans shooters' history in Nashville Covenant School mass murder case. It says parents of the victims of Covenant School in Nashville High have begged Davidson County court judge to withhold from the public that piece of shit's manifesto and all documents belonging to that piece of crap, which were legally gifted to the parents of the victims by the shooter's parents. So gifting the documents to the parents of the victims is odd, but for the parents of the victims to then assert that they hold some kind of, quote, copyright on those documents is twisted on its face, and one cannot help but wonder what really is behind the erroneous effort to withhold information about this trans shooter. So let's think about it for a minute, what we know about this piece of crap and how they went to that elementary school, transferred out to a different middle school, and then it said Nashville School of Arts, and then to Nassau College of Arts, said everything was seemingly okay, At 28, the now transitioning female, who identified as male, while living at home with their mother and father, began purchasing 7 weapons, including shotguns, rifles, and handguns. It was also at this time that we found out this person was being treated for an emotional disorder. So on the morning of March 27, 2023, which would be just over a year ago now, so they drove to the elementary school, which was their alma mater, and discharged 150 rounds, killing 3 children and 3 adults. Why? Said, why did that piece of crap choose Covenant High for their murderous rampage? Why not middle school or high school? Or how about the local fast food joint? This was a specific hit planned. They knew where they were going and why. And that's the thing, though. Like, here's the thing about that, right? Like, to the person that's actually writing this whole thing, these people here's what it is right now. So my thing is, we already know some of that, dude. And they admitted it. They admitted, number one, that they were trying to kill Christian kids. They were trying to kill white kids, specifically is what it was. And that the place they went to, that Covenant Elementary School, they chose it because it was a gun-free zone. They had no armed security on staff. They had no school resource officer. They had no armed teachers, none of that stuff. And they specifically chose it because it was a soft target. On top of that, now, you have the pieces of shit who were some of the quote-unquote mothers of survivors of the fucking school, being those women I talked about the other day, those 2 dumbass, retarded blondes is what it is. The trophy wives is what they are, actually are is what it is, dude. Bitching and moaning about, like, and this is why we shouldn't arm teachers in Tennessee. It's like, or you could just shut your fucking cunt mouths, ladies. And step the fuck aside, Karens. And understand that, yes, we need to have fucking armed staff in these places. We need to have armed people ready to step up and save the fucking kids. Your pieces of shit asses aren't. And the same thing with the fucking teacher that testified against fucking armed carry and stuff like that on campuses and stuff, dude. It's like, yeah, you're part of the problem, lady. Get the fuck out of education, you dumb cunt. Entirely. Like, it's becoming more and more apparent that homeschooling is the only answer in this country, honestly, anymore, dude. Because at least then you're going to be able to protect your kids yourself, if that be the case. You're going to actually be able to teach your kids your own fucking lessons, what it is, dude. Shit, I'll tell you right now, dude, if I was a fucking parent of like an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid right now, they would be homeschooled and they would be getting Adams lessons at this point, and it would include a mandatory every day we would be going out to a fucking range in our backyard property and stuff like that, and I would be teaching that kid how to shoot and stuff like that is what it is. And it would be called the mathematics course because it would actually be various trajectories and stuff like that would be there. So, which by the way is a thing that you could actually teach kids how to do things the correct way, man. If you want to teach kids like geometry or trigonometry and stuff like that, like one of the best ways to do that with like angles and shit is teach them how to shoot a gun, because it actually like lines up of like, hey, here's your target, here's like drop rates and everything else like that is what it is. So it's kind of ironic that you could actually teach a kid proper firearm safety and a range course while actually having it also relate to mathematics and stuff like that is what it is there. So, but anyway, so yeah, so you got that one going on there. I'm going to go ahead and finish reading the rest of that article for Nashville then, and then we'll go back to Columbine, obviously, for the 25th anniversary thing. Here's what it is. So, let's see where we're at now. Okay, it said, yeah, so the problem is that the public doesn't know why that all happened. I mean, like I said, we know it, obviously. Said public doesn't know why that piece of crap decided to take the lives of 6 innocent people, but the public, we have to live with any legislation that comes from their murderous behavior, legislation that may limit anybody else's rights to own firearms or increases funding for mental health services that may actually be responsible for that piece of crap's actions. Says, so now let's consider what we do know. So what we do know is the name of the doctor or psychiatrist that was treating that piece of crap for emotional disorder. We do know what treatment was provided to them. Said, did they have talk therapy, or were they on prescription psychiatric mind-altering drugs? Did that doctor know whether that trans shooter was a threat to themselves or others? Said, if yes, what was this information passed along to law enforcement? Did the doctor know they were buying guns, and was it information shared with law enforcement? So here's the thing too, by the way, and we also know this too, like right after that happened a year ago and stuff, is that piece of shit's mother, the asshole who did the shooting there is what it was, that fucking chick that was coming to do is what it was there. Their mom knew that they had fucking guns and told them to get rid of them. and thought they had gotten rid of them, yet didn't actually bother doing a sweep in their own fucking home of like, hey, are there guns randomly hidden under like beds and furniture and shit? Oh, there actually are? Oh, let me go ahead and call the cops and be like, yes, my fucking daughter, who's going to be my son now, is a fucking threat to people, dude. Like, go confiscate their shit. You know, give them a 5150 psych hold thing is what it is, dude. Baker Act their ass is what it is for a couple days. That's the thing, by the way, too, that pisses me off so much about this country right now is, 25 years of Columbine now. We've had things called the Baker Act in every single state in this country since the 1970s. It's the exact same thing, basically, as red flag laws. The only difference is you don't have your fucking First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Eighth, 10th, and 14th Amendments, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 14th Amendments, all restricted from you by having your firearms and stuff stolen from you, is what it is. You're just simply taken off for a psychiatrical for 72 hours, given a fucking, put under scrutiny and stuff like that, showing if you're not a threat to anybody else or whatever the case be, then you're let loose is what it is then. But that's the problem right now. We're not doing that stuff with these fucking people, man. So, anyway. Continuing on with the rest of this article, though, it said, moreover, the autopsy explains that there was no positive hit for many different types of prescription meds, and that doesn't take into consideration that that piece of crap could have gone off the meds prior to the shooting. Said knowing whether they had been prescribed any psychiatric medication is imperative because the adverse effects associated with those going cold turkey off them drugs are extremely serious and even deadly, depending on the drug. Furthermore, there are still some questions regarding the therapeutic levels of psychiatric drugs that may have been excluded from the lab reports as well. Yeah, I mean, they didn't test for any. That shit is what it would be then. So crazier still, let's also ask why in the world this fucking guy's parents, or fucking gal's parents, think it would be a good idea to gift the shooter's personal writing history to the victims' families. That's a first. Why? What did these parents think would come from this bizarre action? Is it possible that the parents thought this would somehow make it easier for the victims' families? Or did the parents believe giving away their daughter's writings would relieve them of any culpability? Which, by the way, this is another thing, too. And this is something that the most recent thing there in Michigan with that Crumbly kid's parents did. It opened up a fucking floodgate. What do you call it now? It opened up the box, basically, for other parents to be charged with this shit, too. And this Hale person's parents, dude, need to be fucking charged as accessories after the fact for this shit. They need to be charged just like Crumbly parents need to be charged, dude, by knowing their fucking kid was a nut job and not getting them the fucking help they needed is what it was then. So, anyway. Let's see here now. Yeah, continuing on with this, though, it said, one also must wonder whether the Covenant School's history of sex abuse that is widely reported on social media had any level in the attack by this piece of crap. Said, were they aware of the rumored sex abuse, or God forbid, were they actually a victim of it? That would make sense, truthfully speaking, dude, because, again, it makes a lot of sense, honestly, on that one. So who knows? Anyone can guess. And this is the problem with holding any data that may shed light on what led to the actual murderous rampage. Said the conflicts of interest on some of the parents of Covenant School are shockingly obvious, having created two cash cows, the Covenant Families for Brighter Tomorrows and the Covenant Families Action Fund will surely be used to generate attacks against the Second Amendment and push for conceived mental health programs for all parents across the state. Fucking ridiculous, dude, is what it is. How much you want to bet if I look these up, those two fucking stupid-ass cunt blondes are going to be behind this shit, most likely. I'm going to go look up these fucking things and see what it is here now. Let's see. I want to see who's actually behind this crap right now, what it is, dude. Where tomorrow began an action fund was formed in the aftermath of devastating Covenant shooting. Okay, well, who's actually behind it, dude? That's what I want to know. Yeah, you gotta love how they say that. School safety enhancements. Okay. How about this? How about you actually have armed security at all times, you dumb cunts? Responsible gun ownership. Yeah, of course. We promote responsible gun ownership by advocating for stricter background checks, closing loopholes in gun laws, and supporting legislation that ensures firearms are safely stored. And fuck you people, dude. No, you're not. Responsible gun ownership is to have a fucking gun, you dumb cunts. It's not to fucking advocate for fucking universal background check garbage. Have so-called loopholes closed, which means ending private sales, so you can have gun confiscations at some point, because, every fucking gun somebody has what it is, you dicks. And then requiring safe storage horseshit, which, by the way, you cannot legally have safe storage laws on the fucking books and being enforced at all, you dumbasses, unless you're actually breaking into people's homes, breaking the Fourth Amendment rights, you fucking dick smokes. That seems to happen to those people, man, seriously. Good old-fashioned smack across the mouth a couple of times. Oh, I fucking hate these people so much, dude, right now. Every single person that's behind this shit, dude, needs to literally have their fucking name, need to have their names on the fucking thing, need to be shamed into fucking being ostracized from society entirely is what it is here, man. Oh, yeah, shocker. Looking up the actual quote-unquote special session thing there that they had on their website there. Of course, who's the two fucking idiots that are right behind it there? Those two dumb cunts here. The one right here with the glasses, and then there's another one here on the other side. That's the other dumbass blonde. Which, by the way, these were some of the pieces of shit that were holding up 7 fingers to include the fucking piece of shit that did the massacre there, dude. That's how sick these people really are, dude. That they're like, oh, but the fucking shooter was also a victim. Yeah, because you're a dumb leftist cunt who is okay with fucking some piece of crap killing your fucking children and not actually calling out their fucking shit for it is what it is. I want to see what this Covenant Families Action Fund is. This is probably like a super PAC, I'm guessing, honestly, to get people elected into office is my guess then. Okay, so looking up that one, it says Caring for Covenant Fund is what it says here. Yeah, here you go. Launch new nonprofits is what it is. I want to see who's actually behind this is what it is, though. It doesn't even say the names of these people or not. No, it just labels as Covenant parents and stuff like that. Just name them by name, dude. Fucking name and shame their asses at that point for real, dude. Because they are the fucking problem 100%, dude, when they're fucking trying to use this trap. And that's the same thing, too, by the way. When you look back at fucking Sandy Hook, dude, they did the same bullshit there. Launched all these fucking funds and stuff like that. All these fucking, like, so-called, like, whatever the case be, or, like, the Sandy Hook Promise people and stuff like that is what it is there. Or, like, not to mention the billions of dollars that went into that fucking teeny town is what it is after that supposed massacre is what it is, dude. And it's like, that should make everybody scratch their heads a little bit and be like, that's pretty fucking weird. But of course nobody will ever talk about that is what it is, dude. And when you do, they kind of try to hit your shit with trip is what it is there. So don't want to get too further into it. That's what it is. Anyway, going back to that though, it said that those pieces of crap funds, what it is, will attack Second Amendment rights. In addition, a trustee from the board of Covenant School, Dr. C. Buddy Creech, is a vaccinologist at Vanderbilt, which also happens to be a major shareholder in the transitioning industry. Oh yeah, shocker, man. Imagine my shock. So it'd be interesting to know if Hale was seeking guidance for the transition. That's why it's important to release as much of the information as possible of their manifesto. So that keeping the public in the dark about their motives only leads to speculation and conspiracy theories. Here's the thing though, right? It's not even conspiracy theories at that point. It's just delayed reality is what it is, dude. It's people making up their own fucking theories. People making up their own logic. What could happen there is what it is. And then it's like, yeah, it turns out it's actually true when you fucking see the manifesto. Then when it finally would be released, that'd be the case then. So, anyway. But anyway, continuing on with the rest of this, though. Let's see here. It said, the families of the victims say that releasing the manifesto and documents will lead to copycat killings. So naturally, that could be right, but withholding the information may also lead to more shootings. In fact, said keeping their motives secret does not get the public to why the murders occurred to begin with. Only sunshine on the issue can get the public the information it needs to come up with solutions to these deadly acts of cowardice. Well, here's the thing, right? And I'll say it before I'll say it again, dude. Like, we already have the fucking way to do this. You arm the fucking schools. You arm the staff. You have enough fucking veterans of this country that they could easily get jobs as school security officers. Or it might have vets for that matter in this country, dude. It could be anybody. Hell, give me a fucking job at one of these places. I'll bring my own fucking guns. And be your school fucking resource dude for that day or whatever the case be. And I'll sit there in a fucking chair for 8 hours at one of the entrances. Something pops off. But anyway. And the reason I bring that up, obviously, is because of other stuff like this. And this is actually what we shouldn't be. This is actually what we should be properly vetting people before we arm them, obviously. Because then you got this fucking psychopath here, which is teacher threatens to shoot up preschool in Nashville. Of course, it's usual suspect. Of course it is. It says, police have arrested a Tennessee teacher for allegedly threatening to shoot up a preschool in Nashville, Tennessee. Said Shinaka Cowart was arrested and charged with assault, threat of mass violence at a school, and 2 counts of carrying a weapon in school following Thursday's incident at the Academy of McCrory Lane. So NBC News reports authorities took that piece of shit into custody after witnesses said she threatened to retrieve a firearm and made threats against another teacher and the school. After an argument, the Metro Nashville Police Department said staff members alleged that 29-year-old threatened to shoot up the preschool and that she keeps a gun with her, a gun on her, according to NBC News affiliates. Another teacher claimed to overhear that piece of shit say, "When I start shooting, you better run," prompting the preschool to go into lockdown. Said police department recovered 1 handgun from their purse and another from the driver's side door of her vehicle. So they're now being held on $37,000 bond before being released from jail the same night. Why the fuck? Again, this is giving black criminals the ability to get back out of prison, people. You put this bitch on fucking no bond. What the hell is $37,000? That's fucking nothing, dude. Especially if you're not forcing it to be all cash at that point. All you're doing is saying, hey, go get a bail bondsman, 10% down, $3,700, and you're out of fucking jail again. No, you either put them on a fucking $1 million bond immediately, all cash, or you put them on no bond at all, dude, because you're a threat to fucking safety and public society is what it is, assholes. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, people. Of course, they were using a Taurus LCP there as one of the fucking guns. I'm assuming this is the one they had on them or whatever the case be then. So, little fucking 7-rounder. There's what it is, dude. I don't think Taurus makes that gun anymore, if I'm not mistaken. I think that would be like a pawn shop one or something, dude. That's not a very good gun, from my understanding. Actually, the only one worse is the Taurus Spectrum, which I think is almost off the market now entirely as well on that. So, yeah, and there's that piece of shit's whole thing there is what it is. And so their arrest has inadvertently sparked the gun rights conversation and sparked Democrats to pander to their base as they will, quote, act. So a teacher accused of threatening to shoot up a Nashville preschool has some parents questioning whether arming teachers is a good idea. Said, quote, "We've done nothing, unfortunately, and we are just in the mode waiting for the next tragedy, and hopefully after the next tragedy we will act," said State Rep Bo Mitchell, a Democrat from Nashville. Get the fuck out of office, you dick smoke. I want to see what this asswipe looks like, honestly, right now. That dude looks like every motherfucker caught in a child sex sting ever, dude. I'm not even kidding around. That dude seriously looks like a pedophile. And this is the fucking guy that's going to be going out there and being a fucking politician, bro. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? For fuck's sakes, man. Yes, this news comes as a bill allowing armed teachers in public schools moves through Tennessee's General Assembly. Yeah, it's just fucking... It's so fucking ridiculous, dude, entirely. It's like, no, we should have armed staff at all times. And then especially going, this is not really relating to Columbine or anything like that, but it's relating to other stuff going on currently 25 years later. Two-tier justice, radical anti-Israel activist, aka leftist terrorist, who shut down Golden Gate Bridge for hours, released with no charges. Because of course they were, dude. It's California. Because of course they were. And of course we got this one going back to piece of shit in power. The piece of shit in power shouldn't be. We got FBI serves subpoenas at City Hall of America's worst mayor, Tiffany Henyard. About fucking time, dude. They need to be arresting their fucking cunt ass on like 57,000 different felonies that she committed already right now, including multiple counts of embezzlement, shit like that, dude. Is what it is. Be done with it. And then we got, where's the other one I want to look at today? There was one more I wanted to check out. Okay. So there's actually two different ones I was thinking about right now. So you got, there was one again the other day, going back to the whole, black thing. That's what it is. You had a bunch of senior skip day things happen the other day, and you had like 5 or 6 people shot in Baltimore, Maryland because of that stupid bullshit. Because it was a bunch of black teens coming together, like 500-600 of them or something like that in this park is what it was there. For a so-called water gun fight that turned into an actual mass shooting is what it was then, or like gangbanger violence, what it actually is. And then you also had this one, which was a street takeover / block party. 2 dead, 14 wounded at Memphis block party, part of America's lawless leftist cities. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you defund the cops, by the way, in these places. But anyway, going back to the whole Columbine thing, we're going to talk about the actual massacre itself. Then is what it'll be here from the Wikipedia article there. And like I said, discuss other things currently going on in Colorado now, 25 years later, what it is there with the gun control shit going on there currently. So yeah, you got Columbine High School Massacre, commonly referred to as Columbine, was a school shooting and attempted bombing that occurred April 20th, 1999 at Columbine High School in Columbine, Colorado. So perpetrators were both seniors, murdered 12 students and 1 teacher. 10 of the 12 students killed were in the school library, which is where that footage came from there, is what it is. Said were the 2 killers subsequently died by suicide. Although that's debatable, honestly, because I've heard there's been talk of like the cops going in there and just plugging their asses. So, although it could just be they pushed out, because that's usually what it is with most people, though, right? Like you look at most of these mass shooters and stuff like that, dude. If it's not like a suicide by cop thing, it's gonna be, they're just pussing out and they're just like, okay, let me opt out. Basically, is what it is then. Because it's when they were, and that's the thing too. It's whenever they meet with any armed resistance, they almost immediately just like dome themselves. What it is then, dude. So, but anyway, I guess I continue back on with this though. Yeah, it says 21 additional people were injured by gunshots and gunfire. Was also exchanged with cops. Said another 3 people were injured trying to escape the actual school. So Columbine Massacre was the deadliest mass shooting in a K-12 elementary school until it was surpassed by the supposedly St. Hook Elementary School shooting on December 2012, and later the Uvalde school shooting in May 2022, which is what led to gun control again. And that right there can prove to be a false flag, by the way. They had the piece of shit who did that was probably most likely some guy that was groomed by the fucking feds for 4 years, who actually said in 2018 when they were 14, if that was the same person that did that massacre, that they wanted to do a Columbine in 2022 is what it was then. So, yeah. So there is that, obviously. And that's the crazy part, though, right? Like, you have, like, the Columbine killers literally doing copycats, 25 years later is what it is, though. But at the same time, it's like going back to the whole, Nashville Covenant School thing there. It's like, yeah, that might bring up some killers and stuff like that, dude, or at least, like, attempted people is what it is, dude. But again, like, if you put the right things in the right places and have the right steps in place at the time, whatever the case be, to, have these schools armed and stuff like that against that kind of shit, dude, you can stop this stuff. And the thing is, it's not like people are going to, like, go out there and just randomly fucking shoot up a school and stuff like that, dude. It's like that fucking nutcase woman there that was a teacher at one of these schools, dude. She'll fucking say it right there at the fucking thing, dude. And then she'll be stopped by other staffers, most likely, is what it'll be then. So, like, they're all lunatic signs at that point, dude, for real. But anyway, let's see where we're at now. Okay. So yeah, it's the deadliest mass shooting in K-12 school. Surpassed by Sandy Hook 2012, Uvalde in 2022, And the deadliest mass shooting at a U.S. high school in the U.S. until Parkland in 2018. So Columbine still remains both the deadliest mass shooting and deadliest school shooting to occur in the U.S. In the state of Colorado. Said both the perpetrators who planned for the attack at least a year out and hoped to have a large number of victims intended for the attack to preliminarily be a bombing and only secondarily a shooting. But when several homemade bombs, meaning the pipe bombs they created, were planted around the school, failed to detonate, the pair launched their shooting attack. So the motive remains unclear, or inconclusive, I should say. Said police were slow to enter the school and were heavily criticized for not intervening during the shooting. So the incident resulted in the introduction of the Immediate Action Response Deployment, or IRAD, tactic, which is used in active shooter situations, and an increased emphasis on school security with zero-tolerance policies, debates, and moral panic were sparked over American gun culture and gun control laws, which, by the way, as I said, this was literally halfway between the assault was banned at a fucking federal level at that time, yet it still happened, people. So yeah, go fuck yourselves. Go fuck your fucking gun control bullshit, assholes, and go eat a bag of shit, you fucking anti-gun leftist sacks of fucking shit. You are 100% the fucking problem. Every day that you fuckers keep the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990 in place in this country, you are 100% responsible for the next fucking tragedy at school that happens in this fucking country, or any other gun that happens in this fucking country, you fucking assholes. You leftists are 100% the fucking problem, dude. Not people like me, not people like my friends who are all gunners in this country, who are legally responsible gunners in this country, who actually have our shit locked up and actually have our guns at our ready if we would need them in a fucking home invasion scenario. We're the actual responsible ones in this country, not you fucking assholes who are trying to steal our gun rights from us, is what it is, you dickholes. So yeah, fuck yourselves. You fucking pricks. Anyway. Yeah, so the did thing of American gun culture, gun control laws, high school critiques, or high school cliques, subcultures, aka goths, which is bullshit, dude. Neither one of those idiots were ever goths, dude. They were just fucking loners, is what it was for the most part. It says outcast, school bullying, as well as teenage use of, there you go, pharmaceutical antidepressants, the internet, which I don't think to do with that, by the way. It was all fucking psych drugs. And violence in video games is absolute bullshit, too, for that matter, in movies as well. It says many makeshift memorials were created after the massacre, including one employing victims, Rachel Scott's car and John Timlin's truck. It says 15 crosses for the victims and the shooters were erected on the top of a hill in the thing, which again, like going back to the Nashville thing, why are you glorifying the fucking pieces of shooter who committed this stuff, dude? It's fucked up. Like, no, you put 13 fucking crosses up to memorialize the people that were killed by these two fucking pieces of crap, dude. End of story. The same thing with the fucking seven finger thing. No, you hold up 6 fucking fingers for the 3 children and 3 adults that were killed by that piece of shit hail, not fucking 7 for that idiot hail as well, dude. It's fucking stupid is what it is. Anyway, here you go. Yeah, so originally 15 were placed on that hill. Said crosses of Harris and Klebold were later removed following the controversy. Planning for a permanent memorial began June 1999. And the resulting Columbine Memorial opened to the public September 2007. That's crazy, by the way. So you had the original planning for it taking place in June of that same year, so a couple months later then. And it wasn't until 8 fucking years later that it actually became a thing then. So the shooting has inspired dozens of copycat killings, dubbed the Columbine Effect, including more deadlier shootings across the world. The word Columbine has become a byword for school shootings. So here's my problem with all that, though, right? It's not the fact that it was the Columbine massacre itself that led to copycat killings. It's the fucking mainstream media that glorifies this shit. 24/7 news cycle coverage in the past 25 years now. And they're all like, hey, everybody, here's the exact gun you got to use to do this fucking thing. Here's how you get your name in fucking infamy by killing a bunch of fucking people, etc., etc. Go have at it, Hoss. Go do what needs to be done there, everybody else. And then you wonder why when they run with the coverage of the fucking previous shooting until the next one fucking happens, they create is what it is. This is exactly what I've said many times, dude. The mainstream media needs to be stripped of fucking freedom of the press protections at this point in history, because they are 100% responsible for most of this shit. And then it's mixed between their asses, and it's mixed between these fucking shithead parents that are trying to fuck with people's regular gun rights and stuff like that, and create more gun-free zones in this country and keep the previous gun-free zones from the gun-free schools of 1990 in place right now. That are the ones leading to this shit is what it is, dude. And interestingly enough, even looking at what was used, because they even show like the weapons that were used in this whole massacre at Columbine there 25 years ago now. And again, this is all during assaultman's ban, dude. So you didn't have AR-15s, you didn't have AK-47s, any of that stuff, though. So what did they actually use then? Let's see. So we got a Tech 9, which was not banned at the time. You had a fucking high-point carbine. You had a Savage 67R pump-action shotgun, which I think was the one they bought and had sent to the house through the mail somehow is what it is there. And then they also had a Stevens 311D double-barreled sawed-off shotgun, plus 99 explosives and 4 knives. So, yeah. And then there was 24 people injured, 21 by gunfire is what it was there. So, that was the high point they used, by the way, which, ironically enough, going back to the assaultman's ban in 1994, dude, the reason that high point started creating these carbines was to literally have to deal with the AWP in 94. That's why you got 10-round mags in the fucking pistol grip of that gun. So, which that was the thing, too. They were using fucking 10-round mags and shit, dude, to do that massacre. If they had the ability to do like a 30-round mag or 40-round mag or 50-round mag or 100-round drum or something like that, maybe they would have killed more people. Who knows? But again, they still managed to off 13 is what it was, shooting another 21 in the process as well on that one. I think a lot of it had to do for that fact of the matter, especially when you look at the movies that came about because of this thing, like the elephant movie and stuff like that. They really did talk about how these dudes were like bullied and how a lot of the people on their hit lists and shit like that they had going. That's why they killed like as few as they did is what it was, dude, is because they were looking for certain people is what it was that bullied their asses throughout the years and stuff throughout high school. There's what it was. So, and even as like Trey Park and Matt Stone pointed out, the guys who did South Park and stuff, they were even questioning that stuff in the whole Michael Moore Bowling Columbine movie is what it was there. Because they're like, yeah, these dudes were like 2-3 weeks out from graduating from high school. They could have just left that high school and never seen these idiots again from that fucking school, dude, and moved on with their lives. But yet instead they had it in their fucking, pea brains basically like, oh no, we got to kill these people at the school now. Like, it really doesn't make a lot of sense, dude. But then again, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. If you got a bunch of psych drugs in your system and stuff like that, where your whole, mindset for like a year of your life is basically like, homicidal and suicidal thoughts and actions, what it is then. So, anyway. I assume we'll talk more about this on Honda's chat about 9-10 hours from now is what it'll be. So, anyway, and then they talked about the 2 pieces of shit that committed this massacre. So we had I'm not even going to bring up their whole thing. There's what it is. But yeah, it's interesting that you got background. It says criminal history, 1996. Then 15-year-old, one of the perpetrators created a private website on AOL. It's intended to host levels known as WADs. They created it for the use of first-person shooter game Doom, Doom 2, and Quake. So on the site, they began a blog and included details about sneaking out of their home to cause mischief and vandalism, such as lighting fireworks with their buddy that was also part of the massacre there and others. So these were known as the, quote, rebel missions. And the blog primarily consisted of mission logs beginning in early 1997. So blog postings began to show the first signs of that one guy's anger against society. So by the end of the year, the site contained instructions on how to make explosives. Said the website attached a few visitors and caused no concern until August 97 after they ended a blog post detailing murderous fantasies with being quoted, this is Harris, the one killer, said, quote, all I want to do is kill and injure as many people as I can, especially a few people like Brooks Brown. Said Brown was a classmate of Harris at the time. So after Brown's parents viewed the site, they contacted the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office August 7th, 1997. An investigator wrote a draft affidavit to request a search warrant for that guy's household. It was later never submitted. It was never submitted to a judge. Jesus fucking Christ. So they could have stopped again. I've talked about this so many times, dude. This goes to the circle jerk of fail of fucking law enforcement in this country. They could have stopped this shit a year and a half before it fucking happened, dude. Yet they did nothing. They did nothing to actually do a search warrant back in 97 to this motherfucker's house. Let's see, and then we got January 30th, 98, Klebold and Harris were arrested for breaking into a white van parked near Littleton and stealing tools and computer equipment. They would subsequently attended a joint custody hearing where they pled guilty to felony theft. The judge sentenced them to juvenile detention program. They should have been charged with adult, by the way, back then. So as a result, both delinquents attended mandatory classes such as anger management and talk with division officers. They were both eventually released from the division several weeks early because of positive actions in the program and put on parole. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. And we got writings that shortly after the court hearings, the van break-in, Harris reverted his website back to just hosting user-created levels of doom. So he began to write his thoughts down in a journal. Said Klebold had also been keeping a personal journal since March 97. As early as November of that year, Klebold had mentioned going on a killing spree. Klebold used his journal to vent about his personal problems as well as what he'd wear and use during the attack. I want to say it was Klebold who was the one who was actually on psych drugs, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it was Harris. Or it could have been both, actually, but I know for a fact one of the two wasn't. I think it was Klebold. So soon after beginning his journal, Harris typed out a plan for an attack, which included possibly escaping to a foreign country after the massacre or hijacking an aircraft at Denver International Airport and crashing into New York City. That is some fucking 9/11 shit right there, bro. Like, that's what that shit is, dude, for real. So, it said both these nuts made entries into their journals on topics relating to sexuality. There we go. Okay. Klebold expressed shame for his sexual interests, which included bondage and foot fetish, stating that, quote, my humanity has a foot fetish and bondage extreme sick likening. Okay, let's see where we're at now. So Harris described his desire for sex with women, especially his desire of raping and torturing women in the bedroom. So Harris also expressed interest in cannibalism, stating that he would like to dismember a woman with whom he could have animalistic sex and eat her flesh. Jesus fucking Christ, these guys were insane. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, they could have stopped them. They could have stopped these psychos like years before this, but they did nothing. And it wouldn't need to be red flag laws, people. You could easily just, like, look at these fuckers' journals and be like, yeah, these people definitely need to be 5150 out of their data is what it is. So, anyways, it's both these nut jobs, schoolwork, also foreshadowed the massacre. They both displayed themes of violence in their creative writing projects. In December 97, Harris wrote a paper on school shootings titled Guns in School, and a poem from the perspective of a bullet. So Klebold wrote a short story about a man killing students, which worried his teacher so much that she alerted his parents. She alerted the cops, dude. That's what it should have been, honestly, for real. I also do want to point out that people's love for Adolf Hitler, too, by the way, because that is exactly why they chose April 20th of 1999 to do their massacre, dude, because it was fucking Hitler's birthday, people. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so both also researched war and murder. For one project, Harris wrote a paper on Nazi Germany, and Klebold wrote a paper on Charles Manson. In the psychiatry class, Harris wrote he dreamed of going on a shooting spree with Klebold. Harris's journals describe several experimental bomb detonations. Nearly a year before the massacre, Klebold wrote a message in Harris's yearbook saying, quote, killing enemies, blowing up stuff, killing cops. My wrath for January's incident will be godlike, not to mention our revenge in the Commons. The Commons was slang for the school cafeteria. And it says tapes, bedroom or basement tapes. So both these pieces of shit were enrolled in video production classes and kept 5 videotapes that were recorded from school video equipment. Only 2 of these said Hitman for Hire and Rampage Range, and part of a third known as Radioactive Clothing have been released. The remaining 3 tapes detailed their plans and reasons for the massacre, including the ways they hid their weapons and deceived their parents. So most were shot in the Harris family basement and are thus known as the basement tapes. So 30 minutes before the attack, they made a final video saying goodbye and apologizing to their friends and families. Honestly, again, this is another thing that's weird too. Going back to the whole Nashville Covenant shooting there, dude. They won't release that fucker's manifesto, but yet, even here, 25 years later, you still have essentially 3.5 tapes is what it is that ain't been released because you only have part of the third one there of the 5. And there's that 6th one of them basically apologizing and stuff like that. They've never been released to the public. So it's like, yeah, what the hell are you guys, doing and stuff? My assumption would be on that one, just because of what was said there with the last couple of what it is of their like whole like, because it's like it would basically be used as like a copycat thing of like, okay, this is what they did to do this stuff and do this stuff and do this stuff, and it's like basically a how-to manual of like, hey, dumbasses out there that don't want to be smart enough to do it themselves or whatever the case be, like, here's your fucking how-to manual of what exactly to do this yourself. That'd be the case in like 2027 or something like that would be then or something. So, or in a year in the future would be then. But anyway. Let's see where we're at now. Yeah, so December 1999, before anyone besides investigators had seen them, Time magazine published the article on these tapes. Said victims' family members threatened to sue Jefferson County as a result. Select family members and journalists were allowed to view them. Said though the tapes were then withheld from the public and in 2011 destroyed for fear of inspiring future massacres. Well, that's even more fucked up then, dude. So 13 years ago, they just basically destroyed evidence is what it was there, dude. It says transcripts from some of the dialogue and a short clip recorded by the victim's father still exists. So the pair claimed that they were going to make copies of the tapes to send to news stations, but never did so. So when in economics class, had Harris make an ad for a business, he and Klebold made a video called Hitmen for Hire on December 8th, 1998, which was released February 2004. So it depicts them as the, quote, trench coat mafia, which that's another thing that's all bullshit, dude, is that whole, like, trench coat mafia crap is what it is, dude, because, again, it basically forced people to be fucked with after that, and all these kids that were just, outsiders and stuff like that, wearing trench coats and shit, that were the style at the time, or whatever the case be, for some of these kids, like fashion and stuff. Yeah, you had these fucking dickheads basically rooting for bail, so what it is there, dude. And then, of course, you had other people in the fucking school systems after that being like, oh my God, these people are just going to be Harris and Klebold 2.0. And I'll, like, it's a bunch of fucking lies is what it was. It's just so disgusting what it is, honestly, dude. And the fucked up thing is, I was 14 at the time this happened, dude. Or no. 15 when this happened, actually. Yeah, sorry, I just remember I had a birthday that year of 99. So yeah, I was 15 years old when this shit happened is what it was, dude. Or no. Was I 14? No, yeah, I was 14. Yeah, because that was just on my 14th birthday. So it would have been then. Yeah, I was 14 years old when this happened because I was born in 85. Yeah, I don't know. My mind's kind of off right now today. But yeah, no, I was 14 when this happened then. Just over 14. A couple months after that is when Columbine happened then. And I remember how things changed, honestly, after this, dude. So, yeah, it said, I suppose that Hitman for Hire thing supposedly tricked them as part of the trench coat mafia. A clique at the school which wore black trench coats and opposed jocks. So extorting money for protecting preps from bullies. So Klebold and Harris themselves were apparently not a part of the trench coat there you go. Yeah, they were not a part of the trench coat mafia, but were friends with some of its members. So they wore black trench coats on the day of the massacre, and the Hitman for Hire video seemed a kind of dress rehearsal showing them walking the halls of the school, the shooting bullies outside with fake guns, etc. So October 21st, 2003, a video was released showing the pair doing a target practice on March 6, 1999, nearby foothills of the known as the Rampart Range. So with weapons they would use in the massacre itself, said the Nixon tape. Said before the massacre, Harris left a micro cassette labeled Nixon on the kitchen table. Said on it, Harris said, it is less than 9 hours now. Placing the recording at sometime around 2:30 a.m., he went on to say, people will die because of me, and it will be a day that will be remembered forever. Oh, how true he would have been, man. Like, oh my God, bro. It's so foreshadowing at that point. And then we got weaponry. It said this is the guns used, obviously, and this was actually their guns that were used that day. So, yeah. I do want to point something out on this one, dude. So they literally made 2 SBSs, meaning short-barreled shotguns, which were illegal to have at the time. Not to mention the fact they were all underage at the time, so they were all legal to have as what it was there, man. But yeah, you got your Tech 9, you got your fucking high point carbine, and then 2 shotguns. I'm surprised they were able to kill as many people as they were with those guns, dude. Like, it is kind of shocking, honestly, on that one. Yes, as months prior to the attacks, Klebold and Harris acquired 2 9mm firearms and 2 12-gauge shotguns. Harris had a Tech High Point 995 carbine with 13 10-round magazines and a Savage / Springfield 67H pump-action shotgun. Klebold used a 9mm Tech 9 with one 52-round, one 32-round, and one 28-round magazine in a Stevens 311D double-barrel shotgun. Said Harris's shotgun was sawed off to around 26 inches, and Klebold shortened his shotgun length to 23 inches, a felony under the National Firearms Act. So yeah, exactly, dude. So they were already committing multiple fucking... Well, first off, they were already committing multiple felonies by being under the age of purchase for some of these guns, dude. Specifically that Tech 9, which I think they got in some fucking like straw purchase thing by some other guys, what it was there. And then not only that, but then they were also committing other felonies before they committed their atrocity. Just like the fucking guy that did the Dayton Massacre almost 5 years ago now, who did a bunch of other fucking crimes before he did the fucking main crime. And it's like, Jesus Christ, people. Like, these people don't care. That's the entire point. For fuck's sakes, man. But anyway. Now continuing on here, though. Said November 22nd, 98, their friend, Robin Anderson, there you go, Robin Anderson purchased a carbine rifle and 2 shotguns for the pair at the Tanner Gun Show. Okay, so apparently I guess I was wrong. That whole thing of them getting the guns into their house must have been movie depiction stuff. That'd be the case, because that's what I'm thinking now in my mind. I must be remembering that part of it then. Was from that stupid elephant movie, because that's what they portrayed in that movie, was them basically having a shotgun into their house, which is absolute lies then. Because this would be their buddy that was buying the guns for him, if that'd be the case. But again, that dude committed a straw purchase for him for 3 guns, dude, is what it was. Which, by the way, is a 10-year felony in this country for a reason. Federally. But yeah, Robin Anderson purchased a rifle and 2 shotguns for them at the Tanner Gun Show, as they were, quote, too young to legally purchase the guns themselves. So, shocker, dude, committing fucking straw purchases for underage kids. So after the attack, oh, I thought Robin was a dude. Apparently it's a chick. Okay, so yeah, this woman Robin purchased the guns for them because they were too young to do it themselves. So after the attack, she told investigators she had believed the pair wanted the weapons for target shooting and denied that she had any prior knowledge of their plans. Anderson was not charged. She fucking should have been, by the way. That's fucking bullshit, dude, entirely. I want to see what this one looked like, actually, to be honest with you guys. Yeah, Columbine. So we can find some images here. Okay, so that would have been her right there, the blonde, and then the guy I think was one of the Columbine killers, if I'm not mistaken. That dude looked like a fucking nut. There's another Reddit post of the 3 of them there. Yeah, okay, so this is her right here. These dudes just look like fucking psychos, dude. Like, are you kidding me? How the fuck do you not know? Like, there's no way she didn't fucking know, dude. Like, shit, man. And that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, how do you look at those 2 young dudes and not be like, these guys are clearly fucking psycho? Like, just look at their fucking eyes, bro. Like, it's like that sand pie shit, or whatever the fuck you call it there, where it's like the fucking, like, crazy eyes and stuff. They both had the fucking psycho eyes going back then, bro. Like, how did no one see that these guys were gonna go do a fucking atrocity, man? Like, again, it's a circle jerk of fail, just like every other fucking time in history. Just like the guy that committed this shit there in California that led to red flag laws in that state, who was already proven person and stuff like that, from being deemed a fucking nut and being put in mental institutions for his fucking entire life, basically. And the cops refusing to actually look into his fucking room, because if you looked into his fucking room, they would have actually been able to stop the damn massacre in his tracks right then and there, dude. It's like, Jesus Christ, people, you're all failing. Everybody's failing. Everybody fails all the time is what it is, dude. Anyway. Continuing on with the, so it said both guys held part-time jobs at the local Blackjack Pizza. Blackjack Pizza is a Colorado-based pizza chain founded in 1983 by former Domino's Pizza employee, because Domino's Pizza was the only major pizza delivery company in the Rocky Mountain region. He thought customers would appreciate an alternative. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, they both were basically working at pizza joints. What it was, though, said through Philip Durin, one of the co-workers. Okay, that's what it was. So through this Philip guy, Klebold bought a Tech 9 handgun from a dude named Mark Maines for $500 at another gun show on January 23rd. Said Maines' girlfriend and Duran were all in the Rampart Range video. Said after the massacre, Maines and Duran were both prosecuted, as they should be, dude, because you're doing fucking private sale straw purchasing stuff to these fucking guys. Well, that was really not straw purchasing. It's basically just private sales to underage kids, is what it is then, dude. Which makes sense, because you literally sold a gun using a massacre to these fucking guys, as you should be charged for that whole thing, dude. Says each was charged. There we go. Each charged supplying a handgun. Okay, there you go. Supplying a handgun to a minor and possession of a sawed-off shotgun, because that was actually obviously in the thing too as well. Says Maines and Duran were sentenced to a total of 6 years and 4.5 years respectively in prison. That's nothing, dude. They should have got at least like 8 to 10 years anyway. Fucking ridiculous. And continuing on with this, though, so explosives used in the attacks, in addition to the firearms, the complex and highly planned attack, involved several IEDs. Said Harris and Klebold constructed a total of 99 bombs. These included pipe bombs, carbon dioxide cartridges filled with gunpowder called crickets, Molotov cocktails, and propane tanks converted to bombs. So the propane bombs were used in the cafeteria, the shooters' cars, and in another location intended as a diversion for ignition, they used storm matches, cannon fuses, and model rocket igniters, as well as timing devices built from mechanical alarm clocks for the propane bombs. So during the massacre, they carried match strikers taped to their forearms for easy ignition of pipe bombs and CO2 bombs. Match strikers. Would that be like the... I'm trying to figure out what that would even be. Would that be like the thing that you strike matches on at the back of it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they basically just tied like striker paper to their fucking forearms and stuff is what it was there, dude. Jesus Christ. These guys, I'll tell you one thing, dude. For being as psychotic as they were, they really fucking did their homework to plan this shit out, dude. Like, I will give them that, honestly. Like, as much of a bunch of nuts as they were, dude, like, they took a lot of... Like, that's what I'm saying, dude. They took so much fucking time to plan that shit out, dude, that how the fuck were you never caught, is my question. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this, again, goes back to the whole failure of the thing, dude. It's not even like I'm giving them, like, a fucking, like, you know, like, good job kind of thing or anything like that. No, hell no. The opposite of that entirely. It's like, how, okay, you're planning this shit for so fucking long that, number one, how fucking shitty are your parents in that situation that they don't see this going on in front of them, dude? Like, how fucking oblivious are these shitty parents of Klebold and Harris that they didn't see this going on in that whole entire time, dude, from 97 to 99 when it actually happened there is what it was. Not to mention the fact you have these other people that are selling fucking minors guns and being like, oh no, that's cool, bro. Like, no, it's not, motherfucker. And it's why your asses were charged. It's why you should have been charged like 25 to life, honestly, in some of those cases. Although, you know, you can't really get them on those things, what it is, those other two guys. But yeah, it's just fucking insane, dude. So yeah, match strikers taped to their forearms for easy ignition of pipe bombs, CO2 bombs. Said Harris also experimented with napalm and envisioned a kind of backpack and flamethrower. So they both attempted to get another friend and coworker named Chris Morris, who was a part of the Trenchcoat Mafia, to keep the napalm in his house, but he refused. Good for that guy. Said Harris also tried to recruit him to be a third shooter, but played it off as a joke when he rebuked their advances. Jesus. You know, and again, had this Chris Morris guy, had he done his job, let's go ahead and find out this fucking guy. That guy's a radio personality guy. Look up Columbine. Images. Yeah, had this fucking guy right here been like, hey, these dudes are trying to get me to be part of a school shooting. Like, you could have stopped that shit in its tracks, dog. So that's partially on you, Chris. It's just sad, man. Like I said, it's not just him, though. It was everybody involved in this, dude. It was from the cops that didn't do the subpoenas on the houses and get them in front of a judge to get the fucking search warrants and stuff, to the parents for not doing their job as parents and actually, you know, being maybe a nanny parent and stuff like that and being like, hey, what's my kid up to? Let me look at their fucking journal. Holy shit, what the fuck is this? You know, like, hello, police, my son is a fucking nut. He's probably going to come to massacre kind of thing. You know, like, it's a giant circle of fail is what it is, dude. All the way around. And it's just sad. So, anyway. Continuing on the rest of this Wikipedia article about this whole thing, though, it said pipe bombs. It said Harris's website contained instructions on making pipe bombs, Molotovs, and the extensive use of shrapnel. It said Harris's father once discovered one of his bombs. Harris's journal logged the creation of 25 of the bombs. Said Klebold scared his coworkers by once bringing a pipe bomb into work. They would give various nicknames to their pipe bombs. Said after the massacre, 2 pipe bombs have been left in Klebold's bedroom, one named Vengeance and the other one named Atlanta, presumably after the Olympic Park bombing, which would be the one that they fucked up Richard Jewell with, is what it is there, dude, which is actually some other guy that did that one. Fucking insane, dude. So fucking crazy. Then we got cafeteria bombs. Said they had in their possession 8 propane tanks, all converted into bombs. So the weekend before the shooting, Harris and Klebold bought 2 propane tanks and other suppliers from a warehouse store. They bought 6 propane tanks on the morning of the attack. Said Harris was caught on a Texaco gas station security cam at 9:12 a.m. buying a Blue Rhino propane tank. It said both cafeteria bombs included a single 20-pound tank, attached pipe bombs, and supporting gasoline canisters alongside it. Weird. You know, it does kind of make you wonder, like, how did they get away with all this, dude? Like, were we really that much of a shitty country back then that we, like, nobody gave enough of a fuck to be like, hey, police, like, pretty sure these fucking nuts are going to go do something. Maybe stop them, you know? And I think that's why people gave shit to the cops so much as what it was, dude, because, again, they didn't do fucking nothing to stop them is what it was, dude. It's fucking insane. Fucking sad is what it is, bro. Seriously. Anyway, we got car bombs. Said both car bombs were made from a 20-pound propane tank. Pipe bombs in various containers filled with gasoline were spread throughout the vehicle. Said 8 pipe bombs were placed in Klebold's car and 1 in Harris's car. Then we got knives. It said Harris and Klebold were both equipped with knives, but investigators do not believe they ever utilized them during the massacre. It said Harris had a boot knife on his belt and a, what the hell is that? Khyber Pass machete Bowie knife taped to his taped to the back of his ankle. What the fuck even is that? I gotta look that one up now. Okay, it's some kind of mountain range. So let's look up machete. Oh, it's like that kind of machete, apparently. Don't want to go to that one. So it's like either a giant machete or like some kind of crazy machete like this is what it is then. Like basically a full tank machete is what they're saying there. So anyway. So both had an R, referencing Harris's alias REB, etched into the handle. Said the machete had a swastika on the sheath. Said Klebold had a, quote, cobra knife mounted on his belt and on the left side, as well as a switchblade in his right pocket. And it says massacre. So according to the shooter's respective journals and videotapes, it is believed by investigators that the pair intended to detonate the propane bombs in the cafeteria at the busiest lunch hour, killing hundreds of students. So after this, they would shoot and stab survivors as well as lob bombs at them. Said bombs set in their cars in the parking lot would also eventually detonate, killing more students as well as possibly any officers, paramedics, firemen, or first responders who had come to the school to help. So over the bombs in the cafeteria and cars failed to detonate. Thank God for that. Dude, I swear to God, like that alone was either one of two things. It was either an act of fucking God, which I think is what it really was, honestly, or it was these kids were inept as fuck and had no idea how to detonate these damn bombs is what it was. Which it could have been both those things, honestly. But yeah, I think it was more like the act of God thing at that point, dude. Which, you know, thank the Lord for that shit, dude, because God forbid, like, oh my God, bro. Like I said, like, yes, them killing 13 people was terrible. Them injuring 21 other people was obviously horrible as well. But the fact that they could have murdered hundreds of fucking kids at that school, dude. Like, bro. Like, only by divine intervention are some of these people alive right now, man. Not to mention the fact that one of these kids that was actually one of the victims of the shooting there actually went on to be a Colorado General Assembly person as one of their state reps or something for a while there. It was either, I forget if it was in their state house or their state senate, one of the two. But either way, he actually helped try to preserve gun rights in the state of Colorado. Unfortunately, he was outnumbered for years now by these piece of shit Democrats that have enacted a bunch of control there in Colorado since then is what it was. So, anyway. Let's see where we're at now. I'm going to trim my nails again today is what it is because they're feeling a little shitty on the one side. Here's what it is. But yeah, it says according to, okay, so none of that shit ever detonated properly, whatever. So several official sources claim they planned to shoot the fleeing survivors from the parking lot, but when the bombs failed, they moved to the staircase on the hill at the west side. Other sources claim the top of the staircase where the massacre began was their preferred spot to wait for the bombs to go off all along. So a total of 188 rounds of ammunition were fired by the perpetrators during the massacre. It said firing nearly twice as much as Klebold. Harris fired his carbine rifle a total of 96 times, 47 shots outside, 36 shots inside, and 13 into the library. It said Harris also discharged his shotgun 25 times, 21 times in the library, and 4 times inside. I'm guessing inside the school. It says Klebold fired the Tech 9 handgun 55 times, 3 shots outside, 31 inside, and 21 in the library. Klebold also fired 12 rounds from his double-barrel shotgun, twice outside, and 4 times inside, and 6 times in the library. Law enforcement officers fired 141 rounds during the exchange of gunfire with the shooters. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Dude, that was just a hail of fucking goddamn, bro. So there was... So there was like 320, almost 330 rounds of fucking... Actually, let me go ahead and figure that again now. 188, 144, so that'd be 288, 300... 331 rounds were fired from everybody's guns that day. That's crazy, bro. But see, that's what I'm saying even more so then, right? Because you have Eric Harris there, from the high point carbine, fired almost 100 fucking times at that carbine, dude. So he fired almost 10 mags at that fucking carbine is what it was, dude. Yet he only was able to kill like 12 people, or sorry, 13 people, including teachers. What was there? Like it again, unless you're like hitting the same person like several times, dude. Like you should have only had to shoot him once or twice, is what it is, dude, to get that one, to get like, you know, another one on the body count kind of thing is what it is there or something. Like, just seems crazy to me, man. And it says, planting the bombs on Tuesday morning, April 20th, 99. Harrison Klebold placed 2 duffel bags in cafeteria. Each bag contained propane bombs set detonate during the A lunch shift, which began at 11:15 a.m. Said no witness recalled seeing the duffel bags being added to the 400 or so backpacks that were already in the cafeteria. Which, that's why you don't have fucking bags in your cafeteria, dude. Seriously. So the custodian was replacing the school. Let's see. So security staff at CHS did not observe the bags being placed in the cafeteria. Custodian was replacing the school security videotape at around 11:14 a.m. shortly after the massacre. Police speculated the bombs were placed during this, quote, tape change. They also investigated whether the bombs were placed during the after prom party held the prior weekend. So during some internet sleuths claim the bomb placement can be seen in the video surveillance at around 10:58 a.m. Harris and Klebold are seen in the tapes planting the bombs in casual school clothes, respectively. So Jefferson County Sheriff's Deputy Neil Gardner was assigned at the high school as a full-time school resource officer. Gardner usually ate lunch with students in the cafeteria, but on April 20th, he was eating lunch in his patrol car. Oh, okay. So, I swear to God, people must have been wrong in their assessment on that one, dude, because I swear to God, it was the school resource officer that was the one that was shot first during this whole thing. So he was even in the school at the time, apparently, then. So yeah, I said usually ate with the school, with the kids in the lunchroom there is what it is. But was in his patrol car on the northwest corner of the campus, watching students in the, quote, smoker's pit in Clement Park, a meadow adjacent to the school. Said 2 backpacks filled with pipe bombs, aerosol canisters, and small propane bombs were also placed in a field about 3 miles south of the school and 2 miles south of the fire station. So the bombs were intended to be a diversion to draw firefighters and emergency personnel away from the school. Only the pipe bombs and one of the aerosol canisters detonated, causing a small fire, which was quickly extinguished by a fire department. Said it went off after first having been moved. Said bomb technicians immediately examined the bombs and relayed to police at the school the possibility of devices with motion activators. Said Harris and Klebold changed clothes and returned separately to the Columbine High School. Said Harris parked his vehicle in the junior student parking lot and Klebold parked in the adjoining senior student parking lot. Says school cafeteria was their primary bomb target. Cafeteria had a long outside window wall, ground level doors, and was just north of the senior parking lot. The library was located above the cafeteria in the second story of the window wall. Said each car contained bombs. So as Harris pulled in the parking lot, he encountered classmate Brooks Brown, with whom he had recently patched up a long-standing series of disputes. So according to Brown, he was smoking a cigarette. He was surprised to see Harris, whom he earlier noted had been absent from a class test. Said Harris, a good student, was unlikely to miss school days with important academic obligations. Said Brown berated Harris for missing the test. Harris acted unconcerned, replying, "It doesn't matter anymore." Harris went on and said, "Brooks, I like you now. Get out of here. Go home." So this was actually one of the things that was portrayed in that Elephant movie that Gus Van Sant guy made, which was basically, I think it was this Brooks Brown guy that was portrayed by one of these young actor kids that's like a known actor now, whatever. He was basically told to get the fuck out of there is what it was then. And that's the one, and you can see that in the movie is what it was, where the guy's like telling other people, like, don't go inside the school. It doesn't say, hey, this dude has a fucking gun on him. Get the fuck out of here now, kind of thing, which you should have been telling people. But yeah, so Brown, feeling uneasy and already prepared to skip his next class, walked away from walked away down South Pierce Street. It says, meanwhile, Harris and Klebold armed themselves using straps and webbing to conceal weapons beneath their trench coats. Said they lugged bags containing bombs and ammunition. Said Harris had concealed his shotgun in one of the bags. Said beneath the trench coats, Harris wore a military bandolier and a white t-shirt with the inspiration "Natural Selection" in black letters. A mantra he had adopted. Klebold wore a black t-shirt with "Wrath" in red letters. I'm trying to see if they show that in the thing up there. Okay, that was the one. Okay, so yeah, you got, when they're talking about the bandolier thing, going to that picture right there is the guy in the white right there. Is Harris's crazy ass, little bandolier thing on there. So anyway, where are we at now? God, there's a lot of shit going on in this thing, dude. Let's see here now. I thought we were almost done here, but there's like a ton more to talk about, man. Jesus. This is like a whole breakdown of like every single person shot and killed at this school, man. But yeah, it said, yes, this cafeteria bombs failed to detonate around this time. It said, had these explosives detonated as intended, they would have killed or wounded about 100 or 488 students in the cafeteria and damaged the school structure. It says, collapsing the library into the cafeteria and possibly killing even more students and staff then. Then we got 11:19 a.m. Shooting begins. 11:19 a.m. 17-year-old Rachel Scott and her friend Richard Castadillo were having lunch and sitting in the grass next to the west entrance of the school. It says Klebold threw a pipe bomb towards the parking lot. The bomb only partially detonated, causing it to give off smoke. It said that Richard guy thought it was no more than a crude senior prank. Likewise, several students during the incident first thought they were watching a prank. So the two allegedly returned to where Rachel Scott and Richard Caladito lay on the ground injured. So Scott was killed instantly when she was hit 4 times with rounds fired from Harris's carbine. So he smoked her ass at the high point. That's what it is. So one shot was to the left temple. Jesus Christ, dude. That Richard guy was shot 8 times in the chest, arm, and abdomen by both Harris and Klebold. He fell unconscious to the ground and was left paralyzed below the chest. Man, that's got to be horrible. So that Rachel girl dies from basically a shot to the fucking eye. And yet this poor bastard Richard is now paralyzed from the chest down. He's a quadriplegic now. Dude, I think that would be even worse, honestly. Like, surviving this shit like that. Jesus. That's terrible, man. That guy became an actor later on, apparently, though. Jeez, dude. I couldn't even imagine, bro. Oh, okay, that makes sense when it says that. Yeah, this was, oh man. What's sad is going back to people that are used as pawns and shit by other fucking pieces of crap out there, dude. This Richard guy was one of the guys used by that piece of shit Michael Moore in the Bullet for Columbine movie to go out and be like, "Hey, Kmart CEO, we just want to give you your bullets back." Fuck you, Michael Moore, you fat leftist fuck. You were the exact reason, by the way, asshole, why Kmart went out of business, because they stopped selling ammunition because of your dick smoke ass. Fucking disgusting. I don't blame that Richard guy for being part of that, though, dude, because, again, he was a fucking 18, 19, 20-year-old kid at the time, whatever the case be there for Bullet for Columbine. And, yeah, was basically, didn't even realize he was being used as a fucking pawn for that shit, dude. So, yeah, like I said, that'd be horrible to survive that like that, dude. Yeah, it's just sad, dude. Either way. Anyway, let's see here now. So after firing twice, Klebold's Tech 9 jammed, and he was forced to temporarily cease shooting to fix it, which he did by reloading a new magazine into the pistol. Says, meanwhile, Harris took off his trench coat and aimed his carbine down the west staircase in the direction of 3 students named Daniel Robach, Sean Greaves, and Lance Kirkland. So the students presumed that they were paintball guns and were about to walk up the staircase directly below the shooters. It said Harris fired 10 times, killing that Daniel guy and injuring Sean and Lance respectively. It said William Davis Sanders, a teacher and coach at the school, was in the cafeteria when he heard the gunfire and began warning students. So interestingly enough, right? So going back to sort of limited capacity magazine stuff is what it is there, dude. So you have who we got now? Yeah, you got Eric Harris, who had a high point carbine at the time with 10-round magazines in it. He fires all 10 rounds, kills this Daniel kid, and injures the other 2. Now, again, going back to what I was saying, if he had had a bigger magazine capacity on that one, would he have been able to kill more people there or not? Now, granted, that being said, if he had been able to switch mags quick enough, would he have been able to finish those other 2 guys off too as well? This is things we'll never know, actually. But again, it kind of does bring up the debate about whether left love, and I bring up that specifically for one reason, and it's because the left loves to use the debate of like, oh, but if you don't have X amount of number fucking bullets in your mag, whatever the case be, it's not going to be able to kill as many people, whatever the case be. It's like, yeah, because most of us aren't going to use a fucking gun to go on a goddamn massacre rampage, you fucking nuts. Like, that's the entire point, people. So, and again, it's not like they didn't kill 12 people anyway in this whole situation, dude, and injure like 20-something others, what it is there. So, I mean, hell, that, honestly, it's only by the grace of God this Richard guy actually lived, dude. Like, he could have easily died in that massacre too and not been a fucking paraplegic is what it is there. So, anyway. But yeah, you had teacher William David Sanders. He was teacher and coach, warning other students to run basically from the gunfire. So Harris turned west and fired 7 shots in the direction of 5 students sitting in a grassy hillside adjacent to the steps and opposite the west entrance of the school. It says Michael Johnson was hit in the face, leg, and arm, but ran and escaped. It says Mark Taylor was shot in the chest, legs, or chest, arms, and leg, and fell to the ground where he faked he was dead. The other 3 were uninjured. So yeah, again, like, had this Mark Taylor guy not faked his own death, there's what it is, dude. Like, been like playing dead basically, he probably would have been shot another time or 2 and been killed then. Then we got this is all, by the way. I'm going to point something out here. This one, the whole thing right now. So this entire thing I'm talking about right now started at 11:19 a.m. on April 20th, 1999, the Columbine Massacre, and lasted for 3 minutes, dude. So all these things that I'm talking about right now all happened in a 3-minute time span. So you had Rachel Scott and Richard Casadillo get shot while eating outside. You had Klebolt's Tech 9 jam, which is only would be fixed by putting another mag into it. You had Harris kill a guy named Daniel Robach and injure 2 other guys named Sean Graves and Lance Kirkland. You had teacher William David Sanders hear the gunfire and start warning students to basically run for it. And then you had Eric Harris fire 7 rounds. Couple of them hit a guy named Michael Johnson, who was able to still escape after being shot, and a guy named Mark Taylor, who actually got shot and had to fake like he was dead to not be actually killed in that situation. And then from there, you have, let's see where we're at now. Yeah, it says Klebold walked down the stairs towards the cafeteria. He first shot once at the body of that Daniel Robot guy with a shotgun. So had Daniel not been dead already, he would have been killed by the shotgun blast then. And so then came up to Lance Kirkland, who was already wounded and laying on the ground, said weakly calling for help. Klebold said, sure, I'll help you, then shot Kirkland in the jaw with a shotgun. Said, although near fatally injured, Kirkland would survive. Holy shit, that guy survived that? Are you fucking... Dude, again, like, how are these people alive after this, dude? Like, Jesus Christ, buddy. How the fuck did this guy survive? I gotta go look up this guy now, dude. Like, holy shit. Oh my god, bro. Like, that was him after being shot in the fucking face, dude. Good lord, bro. Holy crap, dude. How did that dude survive that? Jesus Christ, man. Bro, that's fucking nuts, dude. Like, I am honestly like, damn, dude. Jesus. Okay. Let's see where we're at now. Okay, so yeah, so he somehow survived that. It said Graves, paralyzed beneath the waist, had crawled into the doorway of the cafeteria west entrance and collapsed. He rubbed his blood on his face and played dead. So after shooting Kirkland, Klebold walked towards the cafeteria door. He then stepped over the injured Graves to enter the cafeteria. Said Graves remembers Klebold saying, "Sorry, dude." Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Says Klebold only briefly entered the. Wait, which one was which again? I keep forgetting now. Okay. Klebold was the guy with Tech 9. Okay. Yeah, it was Harris was the other guy with the bandolier thing on. Okay. So it was Klebold that was like, "Oh, sorry, bro." The fuck, man. As Klebold only briefly entered the cafeteria, did not shoot at several people still inside. Said officials speculated that Klebold went to check on the propane bombs. Said Harris was still on the top of the stairs shooting, and wounded. Harris was on top of the stairs shooting, severely wounded, and partially paralyzed 17-year-old Anne Marie Clutchcrutter. Wait now. Harris was still on top of the stairs shooting, and severely wounded, and okay. So he was still shooting at the top of the stairs. He severely wounded and partially paralyzed a girl was 17 years old named Anne Marie Clutchhalter as she tried to flee. It says Klebold came out of the cafeteria and went back up the stairs to join Harris and shooting more people. So they each shot once at students standing close to the soccer field, but did not hit anyone. So they walked towards the west entrance, throwing pipe bombs at in several directions, including onto the roof. Only a few of these bombs actually detonated, so witnesses heard one of them say, "This is what we always wanted to do. This is awesome." Jesus fucking Christ. What a couple of fucking lunatics, dude. It says, meanwhile, art teacher Patty Nelson was inside the school. She had noticed the commotion and walked towards the west entrance with student Brian Anderson. It said Nelson had intended to walk outside to tell the students to knock it off, thinking they were either filming a video or pulling a student prank. So as Anderson opened the first set of double doors, the gunman shot out the windows, injuring him with flying glass. Says teacher Patty Nelson was hit in the shoulder with shrapnels, and Anderson and Nelson ran back down the hall into the library. Nelson alerted the students inside of the danger, telling them to get under desks and keep silent. Should you doubt 911 and enter the library's administrative counter. So here's my thing with that, right? Like, this is one thing that bothers the shit out of me on this one, dude. Like, you have so many people hearing the gunfire and stuff like that. How does nobody pull the fire alarms? Because that alone would have got like some response, right? Been like, oh, there's a fire at this fucking school, whatever the case be. Then, like, I get obviously like 25 years ago we didn't have like school lockdowns like we do now is what it is, which have obviously PTSD the shit out of a generation of kids at this point, obviously, unfortunately, in that situation. And the thing about that is, though, it's like, yeah, had they had it in place in 1999, though, dude, like maybe that would have saved some people, honestly. So, or at least like school response stuff, or whatever the case be back then is what it was. Now, granted, this is all before 9/11 and Patriot Act and all that stuff like that, though. So there was that, obviously. But ironically enough, had some of these teachers been armed and stuff like that, they could have actually stopped these motherfuckers, probably, most likely. So, anyway. Let's see. It said that Patty Nelson, woman, dialed 911, entered to the library's administrative counter. Said Anderson fell to the ground, bleeding from his injuries, then hid inside the magazine room adjacent to the library. This was all, by the way, in the first 3 minutes of the shooting there, from 11:19 a.m. to 11:21 a.m. 11:22 a.m. Police response and West entered shootouts. So at 11:22 a.m., a custodian called Deputy Neil Gardner, the assigned school resource officer at Columbine, on a school radio, requesting assistance in the senior parking lot. Said the only paved route took him around the school to the east and south on Pierce Street, where at 11:23 a.m. he heard on his police radio that a female was down and assumed she had been struck by a car. Said while exiting a patrol car in the senior parking lot at 11:24 a.m., he heard another call on the radio. Said, Neil, there's a shooter in the school. Said Harris at the west entrance immediately turned and fired 10 shots from his carbine at Gardner, who was 60 yards away from him at the time. Okay, so you have Eric Harris at 11:24 a.m. turning with the high point and being like ding, 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 an entire magazine at the cop, who was 60 yards from him at the time, or 180 feet is what it was then. So this Harris reloaded his carbine. Gardner leaned over the top of his car and fired 4 rounds at Harris from his service pistol. I like how they have that. It's like a random military guy. Said Harris ducked back behind the building, and Gardner momentarily believed that he had hit him. Said Harris then reemerged and fired at least 4 more rounds at Gardner, which missed and struck 2 parked cars before retreating into the building. Said no one was hit during the exchange of gunfire between the two. Says Gardner reported on his police radio, shots in the building. I need someone in the south lot with me. So by this point, Harris had fired 47 rounds and Klebold fired 5. So the shooters then entered the school through the west entrance, moving along the main north hallway, throwing pipe bombs and shooting at anyone they encountered. Said Klebold shot Stephanie Munson in the ankle, but she was able to walk out of the school. So the pair also shot out the windows in the east entrance of the school. So after proceeding through the hall several times and shooting towards and missing any students they saw, they went toward the west entrance and turned into the library hallway. Says deputies Paul Smoker and Paul Magar, motorcycle patrolmen for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, were writing a traffic ticket north of the school when a female down call came in 11:23 a.m. Said taking the shortest route, they drove their motorcycles over grass between the athletic field and headed towards the west entrance. So when they saw Deputy Scott Tobersky, Rick Surley, and Kevin Walker following them in their patrol car, they abandoned their motorcycles for the safety of the car. So basically, you had 2 motorcycle cops that are like, oh, there's a bunch of other cops in the vehicle over here that is actually like, has like, doors to it that we maybe not get shot randomly driving up here. Okay, let's fucking throw down these bikes and go run to this car now. Like, what the fuck, dude? I also do want to point something out too in this whole situation. From my understanding, this was obviously in a time period before we had patrolmen's rifles in vehicles. So this is before you had every cop having an AR-15 basically in their car. So there is that. So it's basically his handguns and then maybe like a shotgun or something in the trunk or something like that would be my guess right now. But anyway, going back to where we're at though. So we got, okay, so yeah, they abandoned their motorcycles for the safety of the car. Said 6 deputies had begun to rescue 2 wounded students near the ball fields when another gunfight broke out about 11:26 a.m. as Harris returned to the double doors and began shooting at Deputy Gardner, who returned fire. I said from the hilltop, Deputy Smoker fired 3 rounds from his pistol at Harris, who again retreated in the building. As before, no one was hit in that exchange of fire. So inside the cafeteria, Dave Sanders, which was the teacher guy, and 2 custodians, John Curtis and Jay, I'm sure how's that guy's name, Galatine, initially told students to get under the tables, then successfully evacuated students up the staircase leading to the 2nd floor of the school. So the stairs were located around the corner from the library hallway in the main south hallway. Says Teacher Sanders then tried to secure as much of the school as he could. Said Sanders and another student were at the end of the hallway where he gestured for students in the library to stay before encountering both Harris and Klebold, who had approached from the corner of the north hallway. Says Sanders and the student turned and ran in the opposite Dave Sanders and the student turned and ran in the opposite direction. Says Harris and Klebold shot at them both, and Harris hitting Sanders twice in the back and neck. Said hitting his teeth on the exit, but missing the student. So the latter ran into a science classroom and warned everyone to hide. Klebold walked over towards Sanders, who had collapsed, and tossed a pipe bomb, then returned to Harris up the library hallway. So Sanders struggled towards the science area, and teacher Rich Long took him into the classroom where 30 students were located due to the knowledge of his first aid. Student Aaron Hetchney was brought to the classroom from another by a teacher, Kent something or other. Despite the unfolding commotion, said with the assistance of fellow student Kevin Starkey and teacher Teresa Miller, that Aaron Kidd administered first aid to Sanders for 3 hours, attempting to stem the blood loss using shirts from students in this classroom and showing him pictures from his wallet to keep him talking, which I'm guessing that's pictures of his family, would be my guess. Said using a phone in the classroom, Miller and several students maintained contact with police outside the school. As the shooting unfolded, pipe bombs were tossed in the hallways and down to the cafeteria. Patty Nelson in the library called 911, telling her story and urging students in the library to take cover beneath desks. Said according to transcripts, her call was received by 911 at 11:25 and 28 seconds a.m. is what it says there. Jesus fucking Christ. We actually have fatalities there is what it is too, by the way. Of everybody on the corner there. So I think we're going to do fatalities here in a second, and then we're going to go to the rest of the library massacre and then down the rest of the whole thing right here, dude. This is a lot to talk about now. Jesus, dude. That is a lot of fucking shit we still got to go through right now. All right. I got to grab a drink of water real quick before we finish up this whole thing. So, sorry, gotta readjust the cowboy hat properly there. Because I'm a cowboy, baby. But anyway, so yeah, so you had going on the fatality thing before we go to the rest of this whole thing. So we got Rachel Scott, who was 17 at the time. She was killed on the grass outside the entrance by Eric Harris. You got Daniel Robach, age 15, killed at the bottom of the stairs leading to the west entrance, also killed by Eric Harris. You got William David Sanders, age 47. He was a teacher. He was shot in the hallway adjacent the library by Eric Harris and died of blood loss in the science classroom. We have Kyle Vasquez, age 16, killed while sitting in a chair near the middle of the north computer table in the library by Klebold. You got Stephen Cronow, age 14, killed at the west end of the south computer table in the library by Eric Harris. You got Cassie Burnell, age 17, was killed under the library table number 19 by Eric Harris. I want to point something out too. This Cassie girl right here, this Cassie Burnell girl. There is a song by the band Flyleaf called Cassie, and that is actually based on that girl's death. Because it goes, and Cassie pulled the trigger. It's basically about Eric Harris killing her after saying that she believed in God, is what it is, because that's how much of a demonic piece of shit these motherfuckers were, dude. This girl was a Christian. She believed in Jesus Christ and God, and they killed her for it. And they can burn in hell to this day, honestly. And I hope they fucking are. I hope they're getting their asses raped right now by Satan himself, if that be the case, dude. Because fuck both Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, man. So, yeah. And it does make you wonder, like, all these kids that they killed, these 12 kids that they killed, and this teacher they killed, how much different would life be like 25 years later if, you know, let's say this Cassie girl at the age of 17, she'd be, 42 now. Or Isaiah Scholes, who was 18, he'd be 43 now. Like, who's to say that they wouldn't have gone and do great things, man? Or even this Rachel Scott girl, who's to say she wouldn't have gone and do great things? But we'll never know these things, dude, because this piece of shit murdered them in cold blood. Anyway, but yeah, the people that were killed there, we got Isaiah Scholes, who was 18, killed under the library table number 16 by Eric Harris. You got Matthew Kektar, age 16, was killed under library table 16 as well by Klebold. Lauren Townsend, 18, killed under library table number 2 by Klebold. John Tomlin, age 16, killed next to the library table number 6 by Klebold after being wounded by Harris. You got Kelly Fleming, age 16, killed next to library table number 2 by Harris. Daniel Mauser, age 15, killed under library table number 9 by Harris. Corey DePuter, age 17, killed under library table number 14 by Klebold. And then, of course, you got pieces of shit, Klebold and Harris, self-annihilating then at the ages of 18 and 17, respectively, is what it is, dude. So, anyway. So, yeah. So, you had that whole thing. Like I said, you had the whole thing start at 11:19 a.m. All that went down in 3 minutes. You had 11:22 to 11:25, 28 seconds, which was where that Patty woman called 911 for the call to basically say, hey, what's up? Like, we're being shot at by these fucking nuts. Get in here, do your job, please, et cetera, et cetera. Then we got 11:29 a.m. Harris and Klebold entered the library. 52 students, 2 teachers, and 2 librarians were inside at the time. Said Harris yelled at everybody to get up loudly enough to be heard on the 911 call. So he's like, get up! So Harris fired his shotgun twice at a desk. Student Evan Todd had been standing near a pillar when the shooters entered the library and had just taken cover behind the photocopier. Says Todd was hit by wood splinters in the eye and lower back, but was not seriously injured. He then hid behind the administrative counter. So yeah, he got hit by random shrapnel is what it is there. So gunman walked into the library towards the 2 rows of computers. Sitting at the north row was disabled student Kyle Vasquez. So basically, they killed somebody who was already disabled at that point. That's even more fucked up, dude. So you got disabled student Kyle Vasquez. Says Klebold fired a shotgun, fatally hitting Vasquez in the head and back. So they put him. They put down their ammunition-filled duffel bags at the south or lower row of computers and reloaded their weapons. They then walked between the computer rows towards the windows facing the outside staircase. Said throughout the massacre in the library, they ordered everybody to get up, said how long they had been waiting for this and seemed to be enjoying themselves, shouting things like, woo woo, after shooting. Said while ordering the jocks to stand up. One of the 2 said, anybody, quote, anybody with a white hat or a sports emblem on it is dead. Says wearing a white baseball cap at Columbine was a tradition among sports team members. Says nobody stood up, and several students tried to hide while their white hats they were wearing at the time. I don't blame them on that one, dude, because, yeah, you don't want to die from these fuckers, dude. Says windows were shot out in the direction of the recently arrived police. Said officers returned fire, and the gunman retreated from the windows. No one was injured in that exchange of gunfire. It says Klebold removed his trench coat. He then fired his shotgun. And how the fuck are you still, like, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, okay, so this started like 10 minutes before this, give or take, and this motherfucker is still wearing the trench coat at that point. That's just crazy, man. Like, you would have thought you would have taken that off almost immediately, man. Yeah, so removes his trench coat. Okay, by the way, this is between 11:29 and 11:36. So it could have been anywhere like 11:30-ish, give or take. So it would have been 11, 12, 13 minutes in, give or take, at that point when he removed the trench coat then. So he then fired his shotgun at a nearby table, injuring 3 students, Patrick Ireland, Daniel Steepleton, and Mackay Hall, who was one of the girls that they talked about in the other thing when I was looking up a little bit ago here. They were... Yeah, let me see here now. Okay, go back. Where was that now? Okay. Yeah, that Mackay Hall was one of the ones that was part of the 3 that were discussing the massacre here recently. Yeah, these people here's what it is. The guy that was shot in the face, and then this dude here, and then that girl in the middle there is what it is. That were 3 of the survivors there. So... Anyway, it says Harris walked towards the lower row of computer desks with a shotgun and fired a single shot underneath the front desk while down on one knee. Said he hit 14-year-old Stephen Chernow with a mortal wound to the neck. Said he then moved to the adjacent computer desk, injuring 17-year-old Casey. I'm not sure I pronounced that kid's last name. Rosgeiger with a shot which passed completely through her right shoulder, also grazing her neck and severing a major artery. So when she stopped gasping in pain, Harris said, "Quit your bitching." Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Dude, Eric Harris was the biggest piece of shit of both those guys, really. Like, Dylan Klebold was also a piece of shit, too, but, like, Harris was definitely the bigger fucking 2 scumbags, I believe is what it was, dude, honestly. Let's see. So we got so Eric Harris then walked to a table south of the lower computer table with 2 students underneath, Cassie Burnell and Emily. Why not? Said Harris slapped the surface of the table twice as he knelt and said peekaboo before shooting Burnell once in the head with a shotgun, killing her. Said Harris at this point held the gun with one hand and the weapon hit his face in recoil, injuring his nose. So he told Klebold he had done so, and Klebold responded, "Why'd you do that?" Well, you know, I will say one thing, right? Like, good on that gun recoiling right into that motherfucker's face, dude, because fuck that fucking asshole. Says after fatally shooting Burnell, Harris turned towards the next table where Bree Pasquill sat next to the table rather than underneath it. Harris's nose was bleeding. So witnesses later reported that he had blood around his mouth. Harris asked that Bree girl if she wanted to die, and she responded with a plea for her life. Okay, it had been what the actual thing was, then I think it was maybe a mix of that whole thing, because that's where, like I said, that Cassie song earlier with her pleading for her life, whatever, and being like a fan of God or whatever. It might have been a mix between Cassie Burnell and this Bree girl then, because that's what it was. Like, Harris asking her if she wanted to die, and that always went to that like Cassie thing with that Cassie Burnell girl is what it was there. So, oh wait, no, I guess it does say it right there in the thing. When you look at her photo, here's what it is, dude. Yeah, it says, let's see, right now. Yeah, it said, Anniversary of Columbine. Says, yeah, it was reported that Burnell had been asked whether or not she believed in God, and she said yes before being shot during the massacre. However, investigators concluded the person who had said about her belief in God was some other person who survived the shooting. So September 1990. Oh, wait, no. Investigators said the person who asked about her belief in God was actually Valin something or other who survived the massacre. So there's debate about that one, honestly. If it was Cassie or was this other girl named named Verlin. So, yeah. I don't know. Either way, what I do know is that obviously you had that Flyleaf band make a song called Cassie, and that was based on that Cassie Bernell girl, what it is there. So there is that. And I'll leave it at that, basically. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, though. So you got that Bree girl asking if she believed in God or if she wanted to die, and she responded with a plea for her life. Harris laughed and responded, "Everybody's going to die." When Klebold said, "Shoot her," Harris responded, "No, we're going to blow up the school anyway." Says Klebold noticed Ireland trying to provide aid to Hall, who had suffered a wound to his knee. So does Ireland tried to help Hall. His head rose above the table. Klebold shot him a second time, hitting him twice in the head and once in the foot. Says Ireland was knocked unconscious but survived the attack. Says Klebold then walked towards another table where he discovered 18-year-old Isaiah Scholes, 16-year-old Matthew Ketar, and 16-year-old Craig Scott, Rachel's younger brother. So that Rachel Scott girl that was killed earlier was her younger brother named Craig. So hiding under the table, so Klebold called out to Harris that he found a, quote, insert N-word here, and tried to pull Scholes out from under the table. So they really do just hate people, man, apparently, based on race. So they were direct racists with this dude. So Harris asked that Bree girl to join him. According to witnesses, they taunted Scholes for a few seconds, making derogatory racial comments about him. Says the gunman both fired on the table. Harris shot Scholes once in the chest, killing him, and Klebold shot and killed that Matthew kid. So although Scholes was not shot in the head, Klebold said, "I didn't know." I'm not gonna say. I'm not even gonna fucking say what he said there, man. Because fuck that fucking guy. Doesn't deserve to be having that said again. Says meanwhile, Scott was uninjured, laying in the blood of his friends, feigning death. So he basically Craig faked said that's what it was. See, and that's what I'm saying though, right? Like, this is what I'm kind of saying about like anti-gunners in this country as well, dude. Like, you would think, right? Like, I could totally see that Craig dude becoming an anti-gunner because his sister was murdered by these guys, and him like laying in his dead friend's blood and shit. And the thing is, that would be like pure PTSD at that point, dude. Like, and that's what I'm saying about like Uvalde and stuff like that, bro. Like all these people that were like these child survivors and stuff, or even like, you know, like a Sandy Hook or something like that's what it is, dude. Or like really honestly, like the fucking Parkland massacre and stuff like that. Like, you have kids that would be like lying in other people's blood or like seeing their dead friends on the fucking ground and it like fucking them up psychologically, dude. And it's like, this is why you don't let fucking emotion dictate laws in this country, people. Like, that's the entire point of the whole thing. So, anyway. Let's see where we're at now. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you got that Craig Scott guy, uninjured, laying in his friend's blood and faking like he was dead. Says Harris then yelled, "Who's ready to die next?" Said he then turned and threw a, quote, cricket at the table where Hall, Steepleton, and Ireland were located, which would be those little like baby pipe bomb things or whatever the case be. Said it landed on Steepleton's thigh. Said Hall quickly noticed it and tossed it behind them, and it exploded in midair. Says Harris walked towards the bookcases between the west and center sections of tables in the library. He jumped on one and shook it, apparently attempting to topple it. He shot at the books, which had fallen. Says Klebold walked to the east area of the library. Harris walked from the bookcase past the central area to meet Klebold. Said the latter shot at a display case next to the door, then turned and shot towards the closet closest table, hitting and injuring a guy named Mark Ketgen in the head and shoulder. He then turned toward the table to the left and fired, injuring 18-year-old Lisa Kurtz, Lauren Townsend, and Valine Schickner. with the same shotgun blast. By the way, this Valine woman was the one that they talked about possibly being the one that was asked about her faith in God, is what it was there. It says Klebold then moved towards the same tables and fired several shots from his Tech 9, killing Townsend. So at this point, the seriously injured Valine Schuchner began screaming, "Oh my God, oh God, oh my God." So in response, Klebold asked her if she, there we go, if she believed in the existence of God. When she replied she did, Klebold asked why and commented, yeah, I'm not even gonna read what that says. Of course, these people are fucking demonic, by the way. Says Klebold reloaded but walked away from the table. Says Harris approached another table where two girls were hiding, bent down to look at them and dismissed them as, quote, pathetic. Harris then moved to another table where he fired twice, injuring 16-year-old Nicole Newlin and John Timlin. Timlin moved out from under the table. Klebold shot him repeatedly, killing him. Says Harris then walked back over to the other side of the table where Townsend's dead body was laying. Says behind the table, a 16-year-old girl named Kelly Fleming had, like Brie Pascal, sat next to the table rather than beneath it due to lack of space. Said Harris shot Fleming with a shotgun, hitting her in the back and killing her. Says he shot at the table behind Fleming, hitting Townsend, who was already dead, hitting that Kurtz again, and wounding 18-year-old Jenna Park. So the shooters moved to the center of the library where they reloaded their weapons at a table. Harris then pointed his carbine under a table, but the student who he was aiming at moved out of the way. Harris turned his gun back on the student and told him to identify himself. It was John Savage, an acquaintance of Klebold's. He asked Klebold what they were doing, to which he shrugged and answered, "Oh, just killing people." So Savage asked if they were going to kill him. However, because of the background noise, Klebold said, "What?" Savage asked again whether he was going to kill him. Klebold said no and told him to run. Savage fled, escaping through the library's main entrance and through the cafeteria. So what it really sounds like in this situation is you almost want to be friends with these people because, like, they might not have killed you then, is what it seems like on that one, dude. But the ones that they weren't friends with, they were just like, nah, fuck these kids, man, for the most part. So, anyway. Let's see. So, yeah, you got that John Savage guy running for it. So after Savage left, Harris turned and fired his carbine at the table directly north of where he had been, hitting the ear and hand of 15-year-old Daniel Moser. Moser retaliated by either shoving a chair at Harris or grabbing at his leg. Harris fired again and hit Moser in the center of the face at close range, killing him. Harris then moved south and fired 3 shots under another table, critically injuring 2 17-year-olds, Jennifer Doyle and Austin Eubanks. Says Klebold then shot once, fatally wounding 17-year-old Corey DePuter. At 11:35 a.m., there were no further victims. They had killed 10 people in the library and wounded 12 overall. I'm surprised, though, considering that it said it fatally... where are we now? No, it says critically injured 17-year-olds Jennifer Doyle and Austin Eubanks, but yet they both survived that, dude. And apparently that guy became a motivational speaker, dude. Let's go look up this guy's story real quick, actually, while we're here. So we got Stephen Austin Eubanks, who apparently died in 2019 then. That's terrible. So it was an American motivational speaker in addiction and recovery. He was one of the most well-known survivors of Columbine Massacre, both in his immediate aftermath and post-event community. It says during the shooting, Eubanks' friend, 17-year-old Corey DePuter, was killed, and Eubanks was shot in his hand and knee. Said Eubanks struggled with opioid addiction and later heroin use for years after the shooting. Makes sense if you were shot in the foot, randomly shot, and you couldn't get any relief except for like drugs, dude. Jesus. Said he was the chief operating officer of the Foundry Treatment Center. Eubanks died of a heroin overdose in 2019. So you might as well say he died at Columbine 20 years before that, dude. Which is honestly the saddest part of all, because, you know, you think about that man, like, yeah, that you might as well say that guy might as well die at Columbine, dude. because he's going to die of a heroin overdose 20 years later after being fucking, just on opioid addiction for years of his life is what it is there. So. Sorry, some of this shit's just really getting to me now, dude. It's hard to talk about this without, having some emotion, obviously. Anyway, continuing back on this, though. Got Klebold was quoted as saying they might start knifing people, apparently around this time. Said although they never did, said they headed towards the library's main entrance. Harris threw a Molotov cocktail towards the southwestern end of the library, but it failed to explode. They converged close to where Todd had moved after being wounded, says Klebold pulled the chair out from the desk. He then pointed his Tech 9 at Todd, who was wearing a white hat. Says Klebold asked if he was a jock, and then Todd said no. Klebold responded, well, that's good. We don't like jocks. Says Klebold then demanded to see his face. Todd partly lifted his hat so his face would remain. So his hat so his face would remain obscured. When Klebold asked Todd to give him one reason why he should not kill him, Todd said, I don't want trouble. Klebold reportedly responded back angrily with the word trouble. You don't even know what fucking trouble is, says Todd, tried to correct him. That's not what I meant. I mean, I don't have a problem with you guys, never will, and never did. Klebold then told Harris he was going to let Todd live, but Harris could kill him if he wanted. Says Harris appeared to pay no attention and stated that he and Klebold should head to the cafeteria. Klebold fired into an open library staff break room, hitting a small television while Harris was walking away. Klebold said one more thing, then picked up a chair beside the library counter, which Klebold said one more thing, then picked up the chair behind the library counter under which Patty Nelson was hiding and slammed the chair down on top of the computer terminal and library counter. Says Klebold joined Harris in the library entrance. The two walked out of the library at 11:36 a.m. It says, cautiously fearing the shooter's return, 10 injured and 29 uninjured survivors began to evacuate the library through the north emergency exit door, which led to a sidewalk adjacent to the west entrance. It says Casey Rudziger was evacuated from the library by Craig Scott, who she had not been evacuated. So had she not been evacuated at this point, she would have likely bled to death from her injuries. Since Patrick Ireland unconscious and Lisa Kreutz unable to move remained in the building. Since Patty Nelson crawled into the exterior break room into which Klebold had fired earlier shots and hid in a cupboard. 12:08 p.m. Suicides. That's what it's labeled as. It says, after leaving the library, Harris and Klebold entered the science area where they caused a fire in an empty storage closet. It was extinguished by a teacher who had hidden in the adjacent room. It says the gunman then proceeded towards the south hallway where they shot into an empty science room. At 11:44 a.m., they were captured on the school security footage. As they re-enter the cafeteria, the recording shows Harris crouching against the rail of the staircase and firing towards the propane bombs left in the cafeteria in an unsuccessful attempt to detonate them. As Klebold approached the propane bombs and examined it, Harris took a drink from one of the cups left behind. This was all, by the way, that cup left behind thing, that was actually in the movie Elephant, because he was asking him, like, why are you taking a drink out of, and using, like, all kinds of slurs against gay people, basically what it is there. So anyway, let's see. So we got, it's like Klebold lit a Molotov cocktail, threw it at a pipe bomb. About a minute later, the gallon of fuel attached to the pipe bomb ignited, causing a fire that was extinguished by the fire sprinklers. A few minutes later, they left the cafeteria at 11:46 a.m. Says after leaving the cafeteria, they returned to the main north and south hallways of the school and fired several shots into the walls and ceilings of students and teachers hid in the rooms. Said they walked through the south hallway into the main office before returning to the north hallway at 11:56 a.m. They returned to the cafeteria and briefly entered the school kitchen. By the way, there's an interesting one. It's funny to me too, by the way, how they show like some of this stuff. Like obviously this is like how it really happened or whatever the case be, but then it's how Hollywood portrays some of the shit, obviously, because there is a part of the movie Elephant where they walk into that school cafeteria back area. There is what it is in the kitchen area, and they randomly like killed people sitting in there is what it is, but that never happened obviously in real life. That was all bullshit, made up fucking Hollywood lies, basically is what it is, dude. To make more dramatization crap is what it is there. So anyway. But anyways, let's see where we're at now. Yeah, it said where are we at now? Yeah, it's 11:56 a.m. They returned to the cafeteria, briefly entered the school kitchen, returned up the staircase into the south hallway around 12 o'clock p.m. They re-entered the library, which was empty of survivors except for the unconscious Ireland and injured Kritz girl. So once inside at 12:02 p.m., police were shot at again through the library windows and returned fire. Nobody was injured in this exchange of gunfire either. So by 12:05 p.m., all gunfire from the school had ceased. By 12:08 p.m., both gunmen had killed themselves. Said Harris sat down with his back at a bookshelf and fired his shotgun through the roof of his mouth. Says Klebold went down on his knees and shot himself in his left temple with a Tech 9. Says an article by, quote, Rocky Mountain News stated that Patty Nelson overheard them shout 1, 2, 3 in unison just before a loud boom happened, which would be them killing themselves, obviously. Says Nelson later said that she had never spoken with either of the writers of the article. Said in 2002, National Enquirer published 2 post-mortem photos of Harrison Klebold in the library. Says Klebold's gun was underneath his body, and so unseen in the photo, leading to speculation that Harris shot Klebold before killing himself. This is over once some of Klebold's blood was on Harris's legs, suggesting he had fallen onto Harris after Harris had already killed himself. Said also, just before shooting himself, Klebold lit a Molotov cocktail on a nearby table underneath which Patrick Ireland was laying, which caused the tabletop to momentarily catch fire. And underneath the scorched film of material with a piece of Harris's brain matter, suggesting Harris had shot himself by this point. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. That's all kinds of fucked up. Good Lord, man. Anyway, it says crisis ends. SWAT response. By 12 p.m., SWAT teams were stationed outside the school, and ambulances started taking the wounded to local hospitals. A call for additional ammunition for police officers in case of shootout came at 12:20 p.m. Authorities reported pipe bombs by 1 p.m., and 2 SWAT teams entered the school by 1:09 p.m., moving from classroom to classroom, discovering hidden students and faculty. They entered at the end of the school opposite the library, hampered by old maps and unaware a new wing had recently been added. They were also hampered by the sound of fire alarms. Said Leawood Elementary. It said, meanwhile, families and students and staff were asked to gather at nearby Leawood Elementary School to await information. All students, teachers, and school employees were taken away, questioned, and offered medical care in small holding areas before being bused to meet their family members at that elementary school. Some of the victims' families were told to wait on one final school bus that never came. Dude, that would be so horrible. Like, you think about that, right? Like, you're like, okay, you got like 20 buses that come or whatever it is there at that point. And you're just like, okay, you guys need to wait on this 21st bus, whatever the case be. And that bus just never shows up because your kids are all dead at this point. It would just be horrible, dude. It would just be horrible. Let's see, then we got the boy in the window. Said Patrick Ireland had regained and lost consciousness several times after being shot by Klebold. Says paralyzed on his right side, he crawled to the library windows where, on live television at 2:38 p.m., he stretched out the window, intending to fall into the arms of two SWAT team members standing on the roof of an emergency vehicle. He instead, falling directly onto the vehicle's roof in a pool of blood, he became known as the boy in the window. The team members, Don Kramer and John Romanoff, were later criticized for allowing Ireland to drop more than 7 feet to the ground while doing nothing to try to ensure he could be lowered to the ground safely or break his fall. As they should be, because fuck those guys, dude. Says, quote, one bleeding to death at 2:15 p.m. Students placed a sign in the window saying one bleeding to death in order to alert police and medical personnel of Dave Sanders' location in the science room. Police initially feared it was a ruse by the shooters. A shirt was also tied to the doorknob at 2:30 p.m. This was spotted, and by 2:40 p.m., SWAT officers evacuated the room of students, calling for a paramedic. That Hensey and Starkey were reluctant to leave Sanders behind. By 3 p.m., the SWAT officers had moved Sanders to a storage room, which was more easily accessible. As they did so, a paramedic arrived and found Sanders had no pulse. He had died from his injuries in the storage room before he could receive medical care. He was the only teacher to die in the shooting. So, honestly, the sad part is he would have lived had it not been for these dickhead fucking cops, dude. Not doing their job properly. And we got suicide mission, eliminated 25 dead, or estimated 25 dead. It says Lisa Kurtz, shot in the shoulder, arm, hand, and thigh, remained lying in the library. She had tried to move but became lightheaded. She kept track of the time by the sound of the school's bells until police arrived. Said she was finally evacuated at 3:22 p.m. along with Patty Nelson, Brian Anderson, and 3 library staff who had hidden in the rooms adjacent to the library. Officials found the bodies in the library by 3:30 p.m. By 4 p.m., Sheriff John P. Stone made an initial assessment of 25 students dead, 25 students and teachers dead, 50 wounded, and referred to the massacre as a, quote, suicide mission. President Bill Clinton later issued a statement. That was the statement Bill Clinton issued in 1999 right there. That was 9.5 minutes long. I'm not going to watch that, obviously. It says bomb squad response. Says Stone said that police officers were searching the bodies of the gunmen. They feared that they had used their pipe bombs to booby trap corpses, including their own. By 4:30 p.m., the school was declared safe. By 5:30 p.m., additional officers were called in as more explosives were found in the parking lot and on the roof. By 6:15 p.m., officials had found a bomb in Klebold's car in the parking lot set to detonate the gas tank. So Stone then marked the entire school as a crime scene. By 10:40 p.m., a member of the bomb squad who was attempting to dispose of an undetonated pipe bomb accidentally lit a striking match attached to the bomb by brushing it against the wall of the ordnance disposal trailer. So the bomb detonated inside the trailer, but no one was injured. Thank God for that one. Says bomb squad disarmed the car bomb. Klebold's car was repaired and in 2006 put up for auction. What the fuck? How fucked up is that, dude? You're gonna disarm the fucking bombs in this dude's car, basically take apart the car to do so, repair the car, and then in 2006, 18 years ago, put up for auction. I kind of want to know if somebody has that dude's car now, because that's fucked up, dude. Like, that's a fucked up piece of memorabilia to have, honestly, dude. Like, Jesus, why again? Like, okay, here's my thing, right? So 2004, Marvin Heemeyer, who killed nobody in the Killdozer rampage, except for destroying a bunch of property, stuff like that's what it was, dude. You know, busting up a bunch of buildings and shit like that. You have the Killdozer itself be, you know, sorry, the only person Marvin Heemeyer killed was Marvin Heemeyer that day because he self-inflicted gunshot wounds was in the head. But yeah, so you have the only person dying in the Killdozer rampage being Marvin Heemeyer himself, the guy that committed it. And they're going to destroy the Killdozer, put it in like 20 different pieces around this country, whatever the case being, various, you know, junkyards and shit. Yet, a dude who murdered 13 people and injured like 20 plus others is going to have his car put for auction. What kind of fucked up shit is that, bro? That is some fucked up ass shit right there, dude. Really fucked up. Anyway, we got immediate aftermaths. And on the morning of April 21st, bomb squads combed the high school. By 8:30 a.m., the official death toll was 15. 15 was released. The earlier estimate was 10 over the true death toll, but close to the total count of wounded students. So the total count of deaths was 12 students, 14 including the shooters, and 1 teacher. Again, we're not going to include those pieces of shit, Cleveland Harris, because fuck those guys. So it's 20 students and 1 teacher were injured as a result of the shootings. 3 more students were injured indirectly as they tried to escape the school. So basically trampling probably is my guess on saying that kind of stuff. This is at 10 a.m. The bomb squad declared the building safe for officials to enter by 11:30 a.m. Spokesman for the sheriff's office declared the investigation underway. 13 of the bodies were still inside the high school as investigators photographed the building. Jesus Christ, dude. 2:30 p.m., a press conference was held by Jefferson County District Attorney David Thomas and Sheriff John Stone, at which they said they suspected others had helped plan the shootings, as formal identification of the dead had not yet been taken place, but families of the children thought to have been killed had been notified. Says throughout the late afternoon and early evening, the bodies were gradually removed from the school and taken to the Jefferson County Coroner's Office to be identified and autopsied about 5 p.m. Names of many of the dead were known. An official statement was released naming the 15 confirmed deaths and 27 injured related to the massacre. I actually do remember this day. I remember hearing some of this stuff as a 14-year-old kid, man. It said April 27th, the cafeteria bombs were discovered. Seriously, it took 2 fucking days for them to discover those bombs? Are you kidding me, bro? Jesus fucking Christ, man. How big was this fucking school is my question if they took them 2 days to find that shit, dude. That's fucking crazy. Let's see. The days following the shootings, Rachel Scott's car and John Temlin's truck became memorials, and impromptu memorials were held in Clement Park on April 30th. Carpenter Greg Zinnis erected 15 6-foot-tall wooden crosses to honor those who had died in the school. It says Janet Robach's father cut down the 2 meant for the gunmen. So there were also 15 trees planted, and he cut down 2 of those as well. Good for you. Good for you, Dan's dad. Fuck Cleveland Harris, dude. Seriously. Well, my thing is, okay, to this Greg guy, man, to this Greg Zinnis guy, why the fuck would you erect 15 crosses, you asshole, when there was only 13 people who should have been remembered, you fucking dickhead? And the same thing with the people that planted 15 fucking trees, dude. Like, no. You literally plant 13 trees, bro. Anyway. It said November 2021, a report was leaked to NPR about the year's National Rifle Association convention in Denver. In a series of audio tapes, Wayne LaPierre and other top officials suggested raising $1 million for the victims' families, and the cancellation of the convention was considered by some within the organization. So, there. Let's see. We got search warrant, press conference. This is also on April 30th. April 30th. High-ranking officials of Jefferson County and Jefferson County Sheriff's Office met to decide if they would reveal that Michael Korea had drafted an affidavit for a search warrant of Harris's residence more than a year before the shootings, based on this previous investigation of Harris's website and activities. So, since the affidavit's contents lacked the necessary probable cause, they decided not to disclose the information at the press conference held on April 30th, nor did they mention it in any other way. So, over the next 2 years, that Michael Guy's original draft investigative files documents were lost. Of course, they were. Yeah, they were lost, all right, buddy. More like you fucking covered up goddamn evidence to prove that you're a piece of shit fucking cop that didn't do enough fucking job of your work, is what it was, to actually get the damn shit to bust these motherfuckers a year beforehand, you asshole. Dude, again, this is how you make people like me, who at one time in history were pro law enforcement, into very much anti law enforcement in this country, dude, because cops are shit anymore, is what it seems like, dude. And the more and more video evidence that comes out of a lot of them, dude, they're just fucking inept assholes, what it is in many cases, dude. So, anyway. But that being said, the game of emotions today is what it'll be, man. So, all right, let's see what we got here now. So we got supposedly evidence being lost. Let's see, in September 1999, Jefferson County investigator failed to find the documents during a secret search of the county's computer system. A second attempt in late 2000 found copies of the document within the Jefferson County archives. Their loss was termed troubling by a grand jury convened after the file's existence was reported in April 2001. It was concealed by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and not revealed until September 2001, resulting in the investigation by the TV show 60 Minutes. Documents were reconstructed and released to the public, but the original documents are still missing. The final grand jury investigation was released September 2004. It says Christian martyrdom. It says, in the wake of the shooting, victims Rachel Scott and Cassie Burnell came to be regarded as Christian martyrs by evangelical Christians. Christian churches use the martyr narrative of Scott and Burnell's deaths to promote themselves and recruit members. See, that's what's even more fucked up too, by the way, is like, okay, it's one thing for these sick fuckers on the left to stand on kids' graves, to push for shit, to push for gun control and all other stuff like that, dude. It's just as fucking sick for these so-called evangelical Christians to be like, oh, look, these girls died because they were followers of God. Join us today, people. Like, y'all are just as sick, dude, for real. Like, anybody that uses tragedies like this to fucking push for their own shit, dude, push their own fucked up agendas like that, needs to get a bunch of fucking times across the face. Seriously, he's getting the shit smacked out of him at that point, man. Anyway. Let's see where we're at. So, yeah, closest living witness to Cassie Scott's death, Richard Casadillo, has stated that Harris asked Scott if she believed in God and murdered her after she answered, "You know I do." But this has been questioned, as that Richard Guy later stated he was not sure. Says considerable media attention focused on Burnell, who had been killed by Harris in the library and who Harris had reported to have been asked, "Do you believe in God?" immediately prior to her murder. Says Burnell was reported to have responded yes to the question before her murder. Says Emily Wynant, the closest living witness to Burnell's death, denied that Burnell and Harris had such an exchange. Says Joshua Lapp thought Burnell had been queried about her belief, but he was unable to correctly point out where she was located and was closer to survivor Valene Sucker during the shooting. Says likewise, another witness, Craig Scott, claimed the discussion was about Burnell, or discussion with Burnell. However, when asked to indicate where the conversation had coming from, he pointed to where that Valene woman was shot. She herself claims that she was the one that was questioned, as she was a believer of God. Yeah. So, and then again, it could be something like that. You never know. You never know. So, anyway, then we got We Are Columbine. Says classes at Columbine were held at nearby Chatfield Senior High for the remaining 3 weeks of the 1999 school year. August 99, students returned to the school, and Principal Frank DeAngelis led a rally of students clad in We Are Columbine shirts. And then we got secondary casualties. It says Austin Eubanks says 6 months after the shootings. We got 6 months after the shootings. Anne Marie Hutchalder's mother killed herself. Several former students and teachers had PTSD. Craig Barnes, a 17-year-old student who had witnessed Sanders' shooting, died by suicide on May 20th. Survivor Austin Eubanks, who was injured during the shooting, became heavily medicated, depending on developing opioid addiction, eventually overcoming and later speaking publicly about his addiction. Eubanks died of an accidental overdose in 2019 at the age of 37. There's a lot of other stuff here I don't really want to spend more time on because this is going to be like 4 hours if we do, man. There's a lot more other shit. If you want to watch it, read it yourself, you can, man. Various theories, all that stuff like that's what it is. But one thing I do want to mention in this whole thing, though, is obviously the media trying to blame people like Marilyn Manson for the shit and violent video games is all bullshit entirely, dude. One thing I will point out, though, and I do want to mention this, is the gun control aspect of things, dude. Because it says shooting itself resulted in calls for gun control measures. The quote gun show loophole was first created back then. Background checks became a focus on nationwide debate. It was the deadliest mass shooting during the era of the federal assault weapons ban. Victim Daniel Moser's father, Tom Moser, has become a gun control activist. Of course he fucking did, dude. It's kind of ironic having the last name Moser or Musser, because that's actually a known gun. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that Tom's ass became a gun control advocate. So, 2000, the federal and state legislature was introduced that would require gun locks on firearms, as well as ban of the importation of, quote, high-capacity ammunition magazines. Said, though laws were passed that made it a crime to buy guns for criminals and minors, there was considerable controversy over legislation pertaining to the background checks at gun shows. There was concern in the gun lobby over restrictions of Second Amendment rights in the United States. Frank Lentenbach introduced a proposal to close the gun show loophole, which is absolute bull. There is no gun show loophole, you fucking ass clowns. This is what I can't stand about people, dude. This whole fucking gun show loophole is a goddamn lie. It always has been. What they mean, what they're talking about, is private sales at gun shows. Something that is legal in many states here, including Ohio, as they fucking should be, because the government does not need to know what kind of guns you fucking own, nor should there be background checks on any fucking gun in this country, because, again, all it does is allow the ATF, FBI, CIA, fucking DEA, whatever, DEA, DIA, all that fucking shit, dude, all the fucking operating agencies, to literally have a gun confiscation registry list, fucking Hitler-style gun control, people. Ironically enough, this is what these dickheads wanted, dude. They fucking, Harris and Klebold loved fucking Hitler, dude. Hitler and Nazi Germany literally had gun confiscation lists. Killed people for their guns. As every fucking good dictator does in this fucking world, dude. But yeah, this Frank asshole, who I'm pretty sure was one of the last douchebags that got booted out of office then. Because of his gun control bullshit, there's what it is, dude. He was a Democrat Party politician. Introduced a proposal to close gun show loopholes in federal law. It was passed by the Senate, but did not pass the House. Good for them. Good for the House. Tell him to go fuck himself. Then you got fuckface, fat fuck Michael Moore in 2002, documentary Bullet for Columbine, focused heavily on American obsession with handguns. Its grips on Jefferson County and the role in the shooting. Yeah, Michael Moore is such a fat fucking leftist fuck, dude. Like, what a fucking piece of crap entirely, dude. This guy really is just an old pedophile piece of shit, dude, for real. There's a reason why his wife left him in 2014, by the way. Because she knew. She fucking knew, bro. So, anyway. Let's see. 2019, the My Last Shot project was launched as a student-led gun violence prevention resource. Campaign was created by students from Columbine High School and involved students placing stickers on their driver's licenses, student IDs, and phones that state their wishes to have the graphic photos of their bodies publicized if they die in a shooting. What the hell kind of sick shit is that, bro? Like, Jesus. That's even worse than Nancy Pelosi talking about wearing a necklace with a bullet on it, dude. What the fuck? Like, that is some leftist insanity, bro, for real. Like, these people are fucking lunatics, man. God damn, people. Fucking nut jobs, bro. Good lord, people. Fucking hell, man. Anyway, taking on down the line of this last little bit here. It said, popular culture, Columbine has since become a euphemism for a school shooting. Rather than going postal is a euphemism for workplace violence. It's actually mean postal service, you idiots. So since the advent of social media, a fandom for shooters Harrison Klebold has a documented presence on social media sites, especially Tumblr. It says fans of Harrison Klebold refer to them as the Columbiners. For themselves as Columbiners. What a bunch of sick fucks, dude, for real. It says article published in 2015 in the Journal of Transformative Works, a scholarly journal which focuses on sociology, I think that's what it is. Yeah, sociology of fandoms, noted that Columbiners were not fundamentally functioning different from more mainstream fandoms. Says the quote, Columbiners create fan art and fan fiction, even cosplaying the pair, and have interest in the shootings. God, people are fucked in the head, man. So a number of books, movies, and other media have been inspired by the events, among them several video games. A video game called Super Columbine Massacre RPG was based on the massacre. The Flash game, something other, was inspired by two. Then we got copycats. Columbine killers influenced several copycat shootings. With several such plots, mentioning it, fear of copycats has sometimes led to the closing of entire school districts. Since Columbine, over 74 copycat cases have been reported, 21 of which resulted in attacks, while the rest were thwarted by law enforcement, and many of them, the perpetrators, cited Harrison Klebold as heroes or martyrs to them. Fucking people, man. This is something Hannah talked about a while ago, too, by the way, and I totally agree with this one, because it was basically, when you look back in our country's history, to the 1960s and 70s, all the way up to like the 80s, really is what it is, where you had a whole bunch of serial killers in this country, and it was like, the Hillside Strangler, or BTK, or the Green River Killer, or something like that is what it is. And you had the media reporting on this shit, and then it just created copycat after copycat after copycat. And then you have, since then they've stopped doing that, but they kept reporting on these mass shootings in our country now. And it's like, yeah, every time you turn around, it's like another mass shooting, another mass shooting, another mass shooting. And it's like always the fucking same as what it is, dude. So let me see what this question asked me. I did not. And that's super fucked in the head, honestly. I'm going to say like it is, bro. Really, really sick shit, man. Really, really sick shit. Yeah, people are definitely mentally ill as fuck in this country anymore, dude, for real. So. Anyway, last thing that was mentioned in this article here, though, on Wikipedia, which was February 2016, after Klebold's mother, Sue Klebold, surfaced to speak out on mental health and suicide prevention. She was condemned by then Attorney General of Colorado, Cynthia Kaufman, who tweeted that Klebold had been irresponsible and inflammatory in her interview with Diane Sawyer. She also added on a follow-up tweet that Klebold had been selfish and that her interview could have very negative consequences, said Cynthia. remarks were condemned by Ted Zico Sutler, whose daughter Anne-Marie was a Columbine student paralyzed in the attack. He said there was nothing wrong with Klebold coming up as a remorseful mother trying to spark awareness on mental issues. Other mental health organizations echoed that guy's remarks. So, yeah, just so sad, dude. What's even more fucked up is going back to the also things you might see there. We got Aurora Chuck E. Cheese massacre, the deadliest mass shooting in the state prior to Columbine massacre. Never heard about this one at all, actually. So that's interesting to note. And of course, we got gun politics in the United States, gun violence in the United States, mass shootings in the United States, list of attacks related to secondary schools, list of school-related attacks, and list of school shootings in the United States is the last article there. So, yeah, just a sad situation all the way around, man. But it's been almost 3 hours. I didn't think it was going to take this long to get through this whole thing, but it would have been longer than this, probably more like 4.5 hours. We actually did the whole fucking rest of that stuff on those like other 12, 14 paragraphs of shit there. So I got other stuff I got to do today. I've been emotional throughout this entire thing, and I still am, honestly, for that matter. I think, honestly, that Eubanks guy's secondary death there was probably the most emotional thing in that whole situation. Because, and that's it makes me think about that, right? Like, how many of these people have survived these different attacks like this only to, like they've been fucked up from these situations like that. Maybe they were hit with, several rounds and stuff like that, and they can't get over that shit without some kind of like hardcore narcotics and stuff like that. That's what it is, dude. And then you basically end up dying of a drug overdose 20 years later. And in reality, like, you might as well just die that day, honestly. And it's just like, like what's worse, dying that day of your injuries, or dying, 2 decades later because of, after effects of them is what it is, and it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, well, what's it all for, honestly, dude? So, yeah. Not to mention all these kids that were paralyzed from this whole situation. Like, they're never going to be, we got, teenagers at the time that are now in their fucking 30s and 40s and stuff like that. And yet you can't even have these people have a normal life now because they're fucking paralyzed for the rest of their damn lives. And on the flip side of that, you got these fucking idiots out there now who are, refusing to release manifestos of more recent fucking people that did school massacres because they want people to not know about these sick fucks, dude, is what it is. Or even worse, they're basically trying to push more gun control nowadays in 2024. And it's just like, what point is enough, really, is what it is, man. And I feel like enough is enough right now is what it is. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at for the day, though. I'll be back in about 7 hours, give or take, for Hana's chat tonight. Hopefully I'll do one. I'm assuming we'll talk about Columbine in that one, since it just happened. 20th anniversary was yesterday, so, and he is in Colorado still, and we'll probably talk more about the whole recent bullshit there with them trying to push forward gun control in that state again now, and fuck over people's ability to own anything is what it is anymore. So, anyway, but yeah. That being said, stay safe, stay armed, stay vigilant. Because you never know what's going to come. And what's going to come, I think, is going to be even worse than what we've ever seen in this country's history. So, yeah, now is the time to basically arm yourself against tyranny. And if nothing else, maybe be the first responder to stop a future massacre like this from ever happening again is what it is. Have a good one, y'all. Stay safe. Later.